Good morning, everyone, to the special meeting on April 14th, 2026 of the School District of Manatee County. The agenda, there were no amendments to this agenda. This is a single item business meeting that we are going to discuss. So, and there is no public I don't think there's anybody signed up for public comment. So we'll go right on to item number 4, new business. Superintendent.
Thank you, Madam Chair and board members. Good morning
Point of
to
order.
you all.
We still need to approve the agenda.
That is
Oh, I'm
true.
sorry. Matter of fact, over here, I'm getting the word already. Look, I'm getting that sign. So I need a motion to approve the agenda.
I will motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
We have a motion by Ms. Belton, a second by Mr. Kennedy. All those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Aye. Approves 5-0. Sorry about that. I'm in workshop mode. That's where I'm at. Okay, and then now we go to item number 4 for the superintendent's recommendation.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you.
Morning.
Good morning.
The superintendent recommends the approval of amended and restated agreement for purchase and sale of property, Jones Potato Farm School Site, AA.
Double A. Okay.
So moved.
And motion by Mr. Kennedy,
Second.
a second by Mr. Choate. And Mr. Dye, if you would like to opine on this.
Thank you, Chair, and good morning, Board and Superintendent. I'll just run through a summary of the amended contract for you. I think everybody received these comments and also a copy of the contract in advance. So you'll recall we're in an existing contract with Mr. Jones. The seller is Jones Farm and the Neal Company as the developer. So they're together, the seller. Neal's company is developing the property around the subject school site. So you're in an existing contract that was for approximately 40 acres. And the board directed that you wanted to negotiate adding additional property to that existing contract, which was agreeable with the seller, and that's what this amendment accomplishes. The site increased from 40 acres to 89 acres. The additional property is shown on the exhibit. It's really the north 40 acres, north of that existing 39. The price, the property was appraised by 2 separate appraisals, just like was done on the initial contract. And the new price for all of the entire acreage is $10,537,500. And the school board, which we've done on the last few acquisitions, agreed to cooperate with the seller in letting them do a charitable contribution for any excess value that the property gains from the time of up to the time of closing. So with property continuing to increase in value over time, this is what the ask for the last several transactions. That doesn't cost the school district any money. The deposit remains $10,000, and that's already on deposit from the initial contract. The feasibility study is 120 days from the effective date. That's when this is standard to what the school district does on acquisitions. That's when environmental studies are done and also the county approvals for building a school in accordance with the comprehensive plan during that time period. There's one additional extension of 45 days that can be added to that initial 120 days for an additional deposit of $10,000, and that would go into escrow. Survey, the property to be surveyed, additional title examination 60 days from the effective date. Again, the entire contract is subject to county comp plan approval, allowing a school to go on that site. As part of the deal, the developer will build a public road to the site before the school opens at its cost. That obligation is secured by either a cash deposit in escrow of $500,000 or they can bond it. That additional connector road is shown on the exhibit, kind of midway, splitting the property, and connects the site, an additional connection to Buckeye Road. The site's fronted on public road, though, on two sides, so it's got a lot of access. Closing 60 days after the feasibility period ends. And additional provision that the seller wanted is that the school board must add this site to its capital plan within 5 years after closing, or else offer it back to the seller. So up to 5 years after the closing, the school district will need to add it to its 5-year capital plan, or else it triggers a buyback provision. An additional provision, the developer wanted to control where lighted fields were because the property is adjacent residential area. And if you look at that, excuse me, it's Exhibit B, not Exhibit A. Exhibit B, there's a crosshatch, kind of an upside down L shape that shows the area that the district's agreeing not to put lighted fields. There is a little bit of commercial that fronts on that L that lighted fields can be installed in that area, but not against residential. And then the other specialized provision, the seller, as you know, is a farmer, and he wanted to keep farming the property until the school's developed. So there's a lease back to Mr. Jones for $200 per acre per year. He'll pay actual rent to the school district for the right to continue to farm that property. And then there's some specialized provisions where he'll pay to get an additional environmental study done when he concludes farming, and also pay for any remediation if any's needed on the property. The school district has had similar arrangements like that in the past. So with that, that's a summary of the contract that's before you.
Thank you so much. Ms. Felton?
Mr. Dye, for the benefit of anybody who happens to be listening this early in the morning, can you explain the charitable contribution portion for them?
Yes, so the property's valued right now based on appraisals at $10,537,500. If the seller has the right to get it reappraised at closing, and if it has increased in value from that number, they can document that as a charitable contribution to the school district.
And this contract's basically amended from the March 25th that we did, and came back to buy more property. And I think we discussed that would be a good thing, because you never know what, and two, the price, just talking about the charitable contribution, you don't know how much that property is going to increase in value between now and the time we do potentially need to build another school. Okay, is there any other questions from the board? Mr. Tatum?
So maybe for Dr. Breslin, so with the extra 40 acres, what would we potentially do with that?
And so depending on the needs that we see happening as we continue to grow, you could put out eventually a high school plan out there. You could put out a K-8 plan. We would really have to look at what future growth and enrollment looks like. We know we'll need some sort of school, but that's why we really wanted to keep it open as to not designate exactly what we would build out there. You know, as we put it in the 5-year plan, that doesn't mean we would have a school in 5 years, but we would start building at that point or plan to build. So that gives us some time to see what the growth looks like and what our enrollment looks like for all of our elementary, middle, and high schools.
So if we do it eventually, like put a middle school there, maybe we could do a K-8, because as I've, like out in Lakewood Ranch, I've often wondered why we have like Gullet and Mona Jane right next to each other,
Sure.
and Braden River Elementary and Braden River Middle right next to each other, where we could have just made those like a K-8 and kept those together. So it's a thought.
Right.
Consider
It
the
could
future.
absolutely be a K-8. There's options, since the board agreed to acquire the additional land. There are certainly options that could be decided, depending what the needs are.
Okay, great.
But K-8s are a very attractive option.
Okay, great. That's all I have. Thank you.
Mr. Choate?
Just as to Dr. Breslin, but we don't believe this site, I mean, at this current, what we're amending now to purchase more, this site probably couldn't hold K through 12.
A K through 12 site.
I'm not saying all in one building. I'm saying multiple. Could you have a K through 8 and high school on this land?
They would have to be smaller, right?
Right.
So with the 89 acres, it allows us to do different things.
But high
You can do
schools
a
are normally about
6-12,
90,
you can
yeah.
do, so you can make a smaller school. It just depends on the need that will come up at that time. So we'll be watching to see the growth in that area. As you know, it's very
Yeah.
congested now. So the numbers will dictate what we need and what we build.
Because
Right.
on the diagram, I just want to make sure I'm looking at it correctly. On the diagram with the red dots and the shaded gray, that's the new land that we're purchasing, the extra, right? But we don't have the capabilities to buy the rest of that corner on the bottom left,
No,
or where it says the no lit fields in the top left, right?
Chair,
Go ahead.
I can clarify that.
Go ahead, please.
Yeah, no, Mr. Choate, that shaded area is just the area you can't have lighted fields.
Gotcha.
Right.
So that entire rectangle is what's being purchased, including that white corner.
Okay, to the bottom left.
Yeah, it's a little misleading, but
Okay, I gotcha.
it's that whole corner.
Okay. All right, thanks. I know that obviously we know that Parish is maxed, and I know there's not like a whole lot of land that we can buy, of course, out like remaining anywhere, but if we're building a new high school in Lakewood Ranch, like I don't see how we're not going to build in the next 5 to 10 years. Have to have one up north of Parish.
Yeah, quite possibly we could. I think this allows us to have options.
Right.
Okay, thanks.
Ms. Dalton?
That was my thought as well, is that we're probably going to, I mean, of course, we'll see what happens, but we'll probably need a high school up there. Just, I mean, we have 6 different apartment complexes coming in right now that are at least 4 buildings. Most of them are 5 or 6 buildings, and they're 4 stories tall. And that's all coming in Parish right now, just driving around. And I'm sure there's ones where I haven't driven, in addition to all the neighborhoods that are going in as well. And if you just even go down Moccasin Wallow Road, the growth there is incredible. So I was also thinking high school, but again, we'll have to see when we get there.
Absolutely.
So there is a potential K through 12 option if it served a smaller student base. We could potentially do that. And I'd love to do a K through 12. I think it's a great option. You could have the K-8 in one setting and 9-12 in the other. So I think it's a potential concept. And I think that's 90 acres, that's a lot of land, but when you start throwing all those buildings on there, it takes it up quite a bit. But the timeline on how we're going to do this gives us the flexibility
Yes, ma'am.
to see what the options are going to be based on the build out, because you know when you look at the diagram, there's a lot of buildings going in, and I agree, Ms. Felton. There's so much construction, you don't know how many students that's going to produce. So, I think we have the flexibility and options later. I think the little lighted area or the shaded area for no, I wouldn't want a field of lights at my back door either. We've all gotten emails about lighting, just for our signs. So I don't think it's going to be a problem. I think we have the flexibility of thinking about what we're going to need based on the growth.
Absolutely, Madam Chair. And we'll certainly, keep tabs on the growth that's occurring out there and continue to look at what those options are and to make sure that we also keep room for pre-K classes as well. I know Dr. Halpin is in the room, and we would be remiss to talk about building a school without those options for families as well, as we know that helps drive our success.
And even, well, before we start thinking about what we're going to build, we'll be doing workshops.
Yes, ma'am. There would be lots of
So this is basically, we
looking
need
at
to secure the
data and
land.
having conversations to make that decision.
Right. Okay.
I just
Mr.
have
Kennedy?
two quick questions for
Sure.
Mr. Dye, if I may. First of all, thank you. We were well prepared before this meeting this morning. We had all the information we needed. I just, two kind of clarifying questions. Number one, what do you anticipate? I know this can get dicey, but what do you anticipate will be the closing date after, assuming we approve this morning?
It's approximately 6 months.
6 months. So we'll have about, the clock starts, that 5-year clock starts to tick in 6 months. Okay.
Yes.
Which will lead to all those conversations we're talking about. And then also the paragraph which allows the Jones family to continue farming the site while we figure out what we're going to do with it. So they're essentially a tenant of the school district per the language of the contract.
Correct.
And is that a new thing, kind of in the space, or I just don't recall and maybe it's just we've done it before, I just don't remember it. But in your experience, is that something that we're moving toward, or school districts or public entities are moving toward when they do property acquisition?
It was done on the 64 property that was part of that, you may recall the swap that was done with Schroeder Manatee a couple of years ago.
Right.
It's kind of surrounded by strawberry fields right there, and that was a deal where the farmer kept farming it. In this case, it's all set up for pretty intensive farming with irrigation and everything, some big pumps and wells. So it allows the property to remain occupied, keeping people from trespass or dumping or whatever. So the district doesn't have to maintain it, mow it, be worried about it. So it'll be insured and under the
That was kind of my next question, is the insurance.
yeah, it'll be carefully maintained by the Jones farm.
Okay, no, I have no doubt about that. Okay, thank you, Mr. Dye. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Sure. And one of the advantages of buying property that's being farmed is we're not going to have to put a whole lot of resources in clearing out growth and big trees and all of that. So, anyone else?
Luckily, this purchase is right near the county line, so there can't be that much more north, right?
Right. It is like how far from the
I mean,
county
it is
line?
ridiculous. Like, it is really close.
It's very
Look
close
at
to the
that.
county line.
So-
Right. And we're talking Hillsborough
They go
County
to
line. So,
Hillsborough.
But remember, students can choice into
Correct,
surrounding districts.
correct.
good
So,
point.
Hillsborough County families, we are open
Good
to
job,
choice.
Cruton. Good job, Cruton.
There you go. Nice plug. All right. So without any other questions, we're ready to vote. All those in favor of the contract,
Aye.
signify by raising your hand. And that passes 5-0. Okay. And that will conclude our special meeting of April 14th, 2026. And this meeting is now adjourned. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the April 14, 2026 School Board Workshop. We have several items on our agenda today. And first up, today we have, first of all, do we have any public commenters before I proceed to the items? Okay. Any public, pardon me? Okay, we have Dwight Walton here to do public comment. Feel free to come on up into the microphone, state your name. No, not on a workshop.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity to approach the board again. About a year and a half, I approached the board in reference to the change in fingerprinting was a requirement for the state of Florida. My name is Dwight L. Walton Sr. I'm a retired state trooper. I did 27 years in Florida Highway Patrol over in Palm Beach County. I'm now a resident of Manatee County. I approached the board about a year and a half ago explaining what the change was for the screening that's required by the Department of Education. We are a business that's been in existence since 2007. My company, we have multi-units to facilitate the screening that's required by the
Madam
Department.
Chairman.
Sir, this isn't related to the agenda. What you're discussing isn't on the agenda.
It is?
So it is not.
Okay, I'm sorry.
That's all right. It's quite all right. Typically, public comments are related to agenda items.
Okay, well,
So maybe at a
Just
future meeting?
I'm sorry?
Maybe you can come back at a future meeting, Mr. Kennedy?
No, I just want to say, sir, I think what you want to do is go through the superintendent's office to
Right.
I've done that,
direct it that way.
and there's no recognition, period. I've contacted the, last Thursday, I went myself to 6 charter schools, private schools, and their attitude is they're waiting on the district. Based upon the memorandum that came from the Department of Education and the governor's office stipulating that the district should notify the charter schools, private schools, school of the arts, that they're no longer responsible. The district has not done that because, again, the charter schools that I personally went to stipulated they're waiting on the districts.
Okay. Yeah, this is an item that we really can't discuss until we get information from the district. So I
Well,
don't,
I've gone to the district, and again, this is my second time trying to get Manatee County on board. This, the Department of Education extended it 3 times. I think the deadline now is the end of June of 2027. Manatee County.
and I believe, sir, I hate to interrupt you,
Yes,
but
ma'am.
I do believe we have things in place to address what you're talking about with the screening. So respectfully, I kind of have to stop the conversation so
Okay.
we can move on to our
Madam
agenda.
Chair, if I just
So-
may say one thing.
Sure.
Sir, I think the problem, I believe, as I see, is that we have a board bylaw that says you can't come to public comment to sell a product or a service to the district.
Right.
So I think I appreciate what you're doing. I think you just want to go a different way than public comment. If you want to reach out to us via email to the board members, we can dialogue with you that way. But just public comment is not the appropriate place for it.
Okay, I have information that I'll just submit to each
Madam
individual
Chair, may
board
I?
member.
Yes, ma'am.
We have met all requirements, and I can provide that to the board. But, sir, to address your concerns, Mr. Clark will step out with you, so you can have someone to talk to right now and get information from.
Okay, thank you very much.
Appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Okay, so that concludes public comments, I'm assuming. And now we're on to item number 4.1, Oasis Charter School Turnaround Update. So I will recognize Ms., sorry, I forgot your name. Go ahead, Ms. Superintendent.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Board members.
Yeah.
At a previous board meeting, it was requested that Oasis Charter come speak about their financial turnaround plan. And so we have Mrs. Edna Bailey here as a guest today to share that plan. And then we also have members of our team led by Rachel Sellers, should there be any questions. Additionally, should there be questions related specifically to Oasis contract, we have Dr. Heyer here as well, in addition to the attorneys who are well-versed on charter contracts. And so I think it would be appropriate to let Mrs. Bailey start if you're okay with that, Mrs.
Yes,
Chair.
ma'am. Go ahead, Miss Bailey. I had it written down. I was just kind of shuffling through to see.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. I'm
morning.
Edna Fields Bailey. I am the founder and the director of Oasis Middle School. And what I would like to do today is just kind of have a conversation to share where we are. And at some point in the future, I would like very much to be able to come back and to give you a status after this process. First, I want to share just a little bit about how the situation came about. When we purchased our school building back in 2019, we purchased it with a conventional mortgage. And due to the stipulations for the bank system that we used at the time, it was set up with a 5-year commitment to either refinance or to have a ballooned process on that mortgage. And the learning tree for us was that even though you can be 100% timely on all your mortgage payments, doesn't necessarily means that things are going to go well. So the long and short of it is that as they tracked our financials, they obviously became concerned and made a decision that they would give us an extension at the end of that 5 years. But what went along with that extension was a $3,800 increase in the monthly payment for the mortgage. And still, we were consistent in making sure that we paid it, and we were never once late on that. So with this last audit that we did, the going concern was surrounding the issue with the mortgage. The due date for that balloon was 12/2/2025. And to add to that, we had been working with the mortgage company, but the gentleman who was assigned to us out of Birmingham from the bank became ill over the summer, and while he was out doing his hospital stay, the financial leadership of the bank made a decision to sell the mortgage. And the mortgage was sold to a company out of New Jersey, which is not in the business of negotiating with small charter schools. Okay, they were in it for buying low and being able to get their 100% returns. So our first concern was to resolve the situation with the mortgage. And as of 12/1/25, the mortgage was sold to, and the property sold to Mr. Alan Bazzi, who is a retired businessman in the Sarasota-Bradenton area, and now is in a position to do some philanthropic activities for different people. And we were very grateful that he stepped up to help in the situation. So that resolved that as far as the mortgage is concerned. We moved then from carrying the burden of the mortgage to becoming an leasee, and entered into a lease arrangement with Mr. Bazzi, and is continuing so. The second thing was to determine, based on this last audit, how were we going to survive, how were we going to make it, and to not just make it, but handle things in a manner and such that we would maintain the criteria and the financial standards as far as maintaining our contract with the district. So the first thought was, okay, we have to move into what I refer to as survival mode. And survival mode said I needed to look at my full operation and determine, what are we going to do to survive. So I went through the process of first, my highest cost, for operations is salaries. So I did away with several positions. Basically, we have, since day one, maintained a segment of teaching assistants, which focus on our small group instruction. So I had to remove those positions and basically just bring us to a framework strictly just to support going forward. So with that, we incorporated so as not to interrupt our process of academics, because this has been a balancing piece for us. So it's not to interrupt this, maintaining being an A school, maintaining the academic growth that we've seen with our children, which comes as a result of the processes and things that we do within the schoolhouse and our program. We remove the individuals, but absorb the duties and the processes of that into our existing team. So there was what I call a redistribution of duties. And as a result, we have set the school so that everything from administration throughout instruction, everything is shared pretty much by everyone inside the schoolhouse except for the main office. And that includes myself. In addition to doing the business side, the principal side, and et cetera, I'm also participating in our instructional side for supporting social studies and mathematics. So it became a shared leadership, administration with operations, with everyone having multiple duties in order to maintain our academic piece. From there, the original plan, as I had indicated in my first revision of the correctional plan, the thought was we forecasted for 60 students, which we felt like would meet our need to carry us at that point, and have some that would be left that we could start to reduce this deficit. But as we continued through the year, it became apparent that we couldn't grow to the additional 60, to reach the number of 60, because we were right at about 48 or so at that point, almost 50, maybe 51 or 2. We would have to add another body to do it, and or put the additional access on to my existing team. And if there's one way to know when you got a great team is when you know you're in a situation that you really need them. And my team, we've been together, my core team, we've been together 20 years now, and they will do whatever it takes to step up. But at the same time, in being accountable for the overall school, that also includes my accountability to my team. So, so we made a decision to try to move forward with just what we had. We could handle what we had, because you may think, well, just a few more students, that wouldn't be a big deal, but for how we operate and for what we do and what it takes just to focus on one child at the level that we do, it takes a lot. So in order to maintain the academics, we decided that we would go ahead and just hold for what we had with the numbers, and to delay our process of being aggressive on the recruitment. We added a few children, a couple of students that came in I think 7th and 8th grade, and we also have found out that that's a difficult transition for us. So, and for the students. So we decided to move back to the original strategy, which is to focus on recruiting new 6th graders. And the goal being to bring them in and to keep them like we normally do for the 3 years and getting them prepared for high school. So we are now just at the beginning of our major campaign. April seems to be the month for us, so over the next 90 days, we will be pushing hard to increase those numbers with using our direct mail pieces, with follow-up calls. Have a parent group that's been organized by one of my parents that's assisting us as well. And also gathering for the siblings and things that we've connected from with families that have been with us over the years. Now, the goal there is we want to get to the 60, which could hold us, but if we can go past that, we will. But this would impact us for revenues that will come about in payments starting in July. And that would then sustain us to be able to go forward. Now, there are 2 other pieces that we have been working through the year. We have been working with some individuals that have stepped up to try to meet our needs by helping from month to month for whatever things that would come that exceeded what we had in place. But we also have a group of people who are helping us to develop and implement a capital campaign, which I'll be honest in saying this is a first for me. Believe it or not, in the almost 20 years, which will be July 6th this year, our school will be in existence for 20 years, and we basically have existed most of the majority of those years from our base of FEFP income that was coming in. So as we work this piece, there are at least 3 very strong possibilities of what may come, of individuals they may step up to help us on the capital side. And finally, the third piece is we had originally looked to say, okay, can we resolve this deficit by June 30th of 2026? And in optimism, we had said, yes, we can do this. And as the year has progressed, reality has set in. So the goal now is to utilize the individuals who's stepping up to help us on some capital funds, and also to utilize a small family group of mine that has stepped in to try to at least reduce this amount by $100,000, in the hopes that this will, at the end of this audit for this year, will have us in a place with the ongoing revenue for additional students starting in July, that it would put us in a place that we could continue to maintain as we've done this year and give us another year to be able to totally get rid of the deficit.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
If you don't mind, I'm going to start. Ms. Bailey, thank you for being here and giving us an update on what you have. I have been following the finance of this school since I've been on the board. And it's just not this school, it's all of the schools. And the deficit has been going on for,
October 2023.
yeah.
October 2023.
Right. for quite a long time. I know that we have communicated with you and we have filed a turnaround plan or whatever financials with the state. So if Ms. Sellers, I want to get her report on before we go to questions for Ms. Bailey. So if you could give us an update on what the process was once we got to that level of seeing how much they've been behind on financials.
Yes, when any charter school, and this is what we did with Oasis Middle School, when they had 3 months where their general fund had a deficit fund balance, that's when we notified them per state statute to give them the notice of the deficiency in their financial condition, which is required by the state. When we do that, we notify them, their governing, the school, the governing board, and the Florida Department of Education.
And we did that in the 3rd month of the deficit in 2023.
Correct. So
Okay.
I think the paperwork was filed in January 2024
Okay.
to them, and that's when the corrective action plan then was provided as a follow-up from the school, was also given to Department of Education. They also followed back up for more information from the charter school as far as the next 2 consecutive forecasted budgets for the year, which they provided as well too. And then after a year went by, we then had to give at the end of the fiscal year, we had to give of fiscal year end June 30, 2025, we followed up with, even though they had remained in the deficit the entire calendar year, the Florida Department of Education reached out and asked us if we would send them an additional deficiency notice since it had continued into the other fiscal year. So we did that as well too. Again, we were provided a corrective action plan, which is pretty close to, is close to everything that she has given to us, because we had to follow up to let them know about the going concern that was filed in the CPA's report. And then they followed up to find out what was happening with that. So they were then provided that same information that Ms. Bailey provided to us, to them as well too. So so that's how the monitoring process goes.
Okay.
Madam Chair, may I, just wanted to confirm enrollment, 45 students enrolled as of today in grades 6 through 8.
Yes.
Okay. And in October of 2023, well, in September 23, it was a positive of 25,000. And then in October of 23, it went negative 242,000. And then it has been negative ever since. And the last report that we reviewed at my briefing, it's a negative 236. And I understand the financial struggles, but I also compare the financial struggles with performance. And the last PM data that we have, and in the 6th, 7th, and 8th, in ELA, there are 46 students. And in 6th grade, from PM, from 24-25 to 25-26 school year, in 6th grade, it went down 39%. The performance went down. So it's just not about the financial, it's about the performance for me. And then when I look at the 7th grade ELA, it went down 6%. And then 8th grade, you came up a little bit in 19%. That's in English. In math, 6th grade went up from last year to now, 18, but the others went down. These are, well, for instance, 7th grade math went down 36%. Eighth grade, no change at all. So to me, it's the combination of the financial difficulties and the students that are eventually going to populate our high schools. That's where I'm at with this. And I would like to, I'm sorry, I just want to get everybody's opinion here before we open to board questions, if you don't mind. And looking at the contract, there are terms here that provide financial stuff. That's one thing. But I want to ask Ms. Heyer if you could come up, if you don't mind, and explain, is there, by my looking through this contract, is there anything in here that I couldn't see? I've been thumbing through it and listening to see about their performance measures, if they are required to meet a certain baseline on performance. A lot of financial, but nothing about the grades and all of that. Go ahead. Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
I didn't know I'd be speaking today, so I will
It's
be
all right.
just reviewing directly from contract. Essentially, charter schools are required to maintain fiscal responsibility. When we look at the annual budget, their governing board must approve the annual budget, and they have oversight over that. The annual budget, of course, should be ideally, in the green. They should, or in what we call in the black. So they're not running in the red or at a deficit. So that would be ideally. Charter schools are required to provide required financial documents in a timely manner. I will note that while the monthly financials are put in timely into Charters Link and reviewed by the finance department, on an annual basis, the audits have been rather late. They're due September 30th per contract.
Madam Chair,
Yes,
may I speak about
absolutely.
the educational accountability? Okay, so per the contract,
Right.
right, they're
On
tied
page
to-
28, the school's fiscal year, again, begins July 1, ends June 30th. But
Dr.
if the
Heyer,
school's audit,
I'm going to pause you for a second.
sorry.
Just to answer Chair Spray's question about the academic performance.
Right.
Per contract, they're tied to the Florida Accountability System based on their school grade. They did receive an A in last year's data. Should they start becoming a low performing, receiving a D or an F, then they would run into academic concerns. But we have not yet received, of course, their data. I think you were speaking of PM2 data for this year. And so really it seems the results for their PM3 performance on the 45 students would be very important to see if they maintain their academic status as determined by the state accountability system. That remains to be seen in May.
Right.
which we're looking at right now with PM1 and 2 is interim or formative assessment data. But yes, back to finances. If their audit reveals a financial deficit position, of course, the auditor alerts the principal of the school, and then, of course, that goes to the governing board. They have been under financial corrective action for 2.5 years, essentially. That's a very long time. In terms of, is there a drop dead date? You know, I have never seen a financial corrective action go this long. But again, the school has been doing very well academically. Essentially, there are 3 major things that a school district board needs to be concerned about with regard to the performance of a charter. Number one being academic, number 2 being financial, and number 3 being safety of students. So those are the 3 things. We do have a situation where the school has been in corrective action for about 30 months. And so, yes, this is concern. But in terms of, is there anything specific in contract as to like a drop dead deadline or anything like that? No, not at this time. There are provisions in statute with regard to corrective action and with regard to financial stability of the charter school, which the board can certainly review.
Right.
And that would be in 1002.33, Section 8. Did that answer your question?
Yes, it does. Yes, it
Okay,
does. Thank you
you.
so much. Okay. Ms. Felton?
Ms. Bailey, I did have a question with regards to this year's state funding, and I was wondering if your school was one of the ones affected by the distributions from after the third calc this year with declining enrollment.
No. Did we receive any additional funds due to the decline in enrollment?
No, did you lose funding for this last quarter of this school year due to declining enrollment? But if your enrollment's steady, then it wouldn't have impacted you.
Okay, the funding that we receive now is just based on the, I think, Survey 2 and Survey 3 averaged 48 students.
All right.
So the number of students that we had enrolled, we were receiving funding for those. We
Okay,
didn't
so
get anything in
you haven't had
excess.
any change?
No.
Okay. Thank you. That was my only question.
Mr. Kennedy?
Yeah, I'll go next. Mrs. Bailey, thank you for being here. I just want to make sure I'm understanding you clearly, because what I heard you ask, I think I heard it clearly. I just want to make sure. You basically have a plan. The mortgage issue is behind you.
Yes,
You have a plan for philanthropic input. Those are my words, not yours, but that's what it sounded like. And you're basically just asking us for one more school year to get
correct.
financially back on your feet. Seems like to me it seems like a reasonable ask, especially a school that's academically performing. I guess I just have a question for the superintendent, Mrs. Sellers. You know, the school has been in, forgive me, I'm forgetting the term, kind of an academic, or excuse me, financial, kind of financial flashing yellow light since fall of 2023.
Yeah.
Right.
So, but what is the school status with the state? Obviously, the state is still finding them okay to be
Well,
open.
the state had indicated that what we provide notice to them on what we have monitored, and we report to them when the charter school provides a corrective action plan. If the sponsor, which is the district, and the school are in agreement with that corrective action plan, it can continue.
Okay. Indefinitely, as long as the school board or the sponsor supports the plan. the turnaround plan.
It feels like it. I mean, I would assume that once you start getting maybe some feedback from the public complaining about it, if we saw bad school grade combined with that, if the entire the fund balance, if it wasn't running and we weren't hearing from things, I think it would be a decision that we would at some point in time request to find out from like the school's president or the board's direction that either if they were to want to get out of doing the business, or if the board saw fit to say, you know what, it would be up to the discretion of everyone to decide if that would continue.
To build up on what Mr. Sellers is sharing, as the sponsor, which the board, as this is the sponsor, page 4 of the contract does outline for renewal, non-renewal, or termination, and a consideration is failure to meet generally accepted standards of fiscal management. And so I guess that is the question of what needs to be defined as acceptable per the sponsor of the charter. And so I would lean on our legal expertise to tell us if we do have a negative of 230,000-ish, depending on what last report, if the school does not manage to have a successful turnaround plan, what is the obligation of the sponsor in terms of this deficit?
If the sponsor were to determine that there was a financial deficit that breached the terms of the charter agreement, it would be incumbent upon the board to take action.
And if there was a deficit that the school is unable to succeed in eliminating, does the district then take on that financial burden?
No.
Okay. That should, I hope,
It
help
does, it does. So there is no, there's no financial risk to us, the sponsor. The risk is on the charter, it sounds like.
Is that correct?
And
That's correct.
thank you, Mr. Penley. And Ms. Bailey, you said you're at 45 students now,
We do.
and you mentioned 60 students. Is 60 students your break even, or is that your 60 students would give you a little cushion?
60 students would give us cushion and that's what we're targeting for right now. That's what we had forecast. But we're really going to push as hard as we can to increase our numbers, because that's our lifeline. So may I add something?
Of course.
At this point. First of all, I want to speak a little bit to the performance data. And I do understand the comparison between the school in the financial situation and impacting the academics. We put a lot of time into paying attention and tracking our data. When I look at a potential student, I look at that child's academic performance from 3rd grade up through 5th grade. And I'm looking to see the pattern of what the needs are to be able to get this child to grow. So we have level ones that we bring in that we get to grade level because of the process and the commitment that we have to really, when we say have data-driven instruction, we truly have data-driven instruction that's on there. The population of children that I work with, a lot of times in our PM1s and PM2s, we don't see what we know they can 100% do, okay? So there's a mindset change that has to be worked, and we do this throughout the year. So when you go back and kind of compare us looking at PM1s and PM2s, you may not see the true story. So where you really have to look at us is in our PM3s. And because we're constantly working to get this child, each individual child to work to the potential. The other thing I would like to add is that, and I understand the situation has taken place for a bit, and in 23, coming out of the pandemic, we, as a small business, we just kind of, you anticipate you're going to get hit with a few things here and there. You kind of plan out. You just don't expect to get hit with all of them at the same time. So there was lots of impact as far as transportation that impeded us. The reason why we kind of started into this situation. We hit the situation with, after getting the buses squared, then we lost our bus drivers. So then there was a shortage on drivers. So there's been just some multiple items that came about outside that influenced, the cause of what has taken place. But we have the one thing, even in the midst of this financial struggle, we have totally been consistent in making sure that we were giving our best for the academics of our children, and our PM3 results indicate that.
Thank you.
Okay.
Good. Thank you, Madam Chair.
What, Mr. Choate, you have questions?
I'm good for right now. I mean, I will, but you can go.
He's got questions here.
Ms. Fulton,
Okay, go ahead.
you can go.
I just want to make sure I get everybody a first chance.
I just had a follow-up question to Mr. Kennedy and what you had presented at the beginning. am I processing correctly, remembering correctly, that you said that at the beginning of the new fiscal year, you should have everything is that when you're anticipating to be able to see everything is balanced out? Am I remembering that
Well,
correctly?
in the original correctional plan that I wrote, yes, and I said I was a bit optimistic in saying that we expected to have this resolved by end of June 2026, okay? But as we look at what's been taking place, that is not going to be the reality. But we do believe, based on what we're seeing for the financial commitments that's coming to the school, that we can reduce it by 100,000.
Okay.
And the plan from last year, if you go back and look at the monthly tracking from, this is 25, 26, right? From 24, 25, based on the information that I was receiving accounting-wise each month, we could see we were doing a pretty decent job of reducing the deficit month by month. Unfortunately, when we got into the actual audit, there was a piece that was indicated to me that there were some concerns as to whether or not the amount of expense for debt service, whether there were some issues and concerns with that. So as a result of that, we ended up with basically losing what we were looking at in monthly financials based to that point that would have been a plus for us, which ended up in, I think, something like about 80-some thousand that had been incurred for debt service but hadn't been recorded properly on there. So that was a big setback for us. If that was the case, then it would have been going from that information, it would have been this year that we would have been coming out of it. So that's why I'm saying we're a year behind on that.
Okay, so you're anticipating then by the end of this coming school year
Correct.
that everything will be
Correct.
okay. Thank you for the clarification.
Okay. Mr. Tatum?
Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning.
So I just wanted to let you know I admire your dedication to, educating your students in your school, and I can tell you're very involved in this and implicated in it, and you're trying to figure a way out of this difficult situation. And I was looking at your school grades. Is it true that last year you were in the school year that ended 24, your grade was a B for your school? Is that correct? And then at the end of the 25 school year, you were an A school. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. I pulled up the scores on the Excel spreadsheet for things like English language arts. So do you kind of know those numbers off the top of your head? You can verify what I'm seeing here to some degree. Or, for instance, it shows in the school year 2024-25, the English language arts achievement was 83%. So that means that your students got a 3 or above on their PM3 test. Is that correct?
Yes.
And then in mathematics, it was, for the school year ending 25, was 76%.
Correct.
Okay. And then in, let's see, science achievement, it was 79%. And in social studies achievement, it was 100%.
Correct.
Those are some pretty good scores. And they're actually up from, so I went back and I'm looking at the 24 school year. Your English language arts in that year was 62%, so you went up significantly from 24 to 25. Your mathematics score was 63%, so you went up in all those areas. Is that your understanding?
For the year over year from this last
Yeah,
one, yes.
from the 24 to 25 school year. And those are pretty high numbers. I mean, that's probably why you're in A school. My first question is, how have you been paying your bills for the last 30 months? Like, if you haven't had the money to do that, I'm just curious, how do you pay the bills while you're in the deficit? Do you have a line of credit or something that you're using, or how do the bills get paid?
I did a couple things to kind of restructure. For example, and looking back, sometimes you think things are wisdom, and then, as they say, hindsight may be better.
Right.
But I had operated under the premises that we would always pay as we go, and that we would keep our debts extremely low, okay, outside of the fact that, we had a mortgage at the time. So what I did was restructured a few things. For example, we had never had credit cards. We didn't have any credit card debt. So we made application through our bank system and secured some credit cards to be able to utilize. We renegotiated some of the planned items that we had to do for facility and building. For example, this building has a flat roof. I don't know how many folks know about flat roofs, but they require a lot of attention and maintenance. So we had some work that had to be done as a result of some leakage and rain residue. And what I do is I basically speak the truth to the contractor that we're dealing with in situations like that. And as opposed to having to pay all of the funds right up front, the owner of the company worked out a plan for us. So maybe instead of doing something immediately, and maybe it's a 90-day process, or maybe it's a 6-month process. And we have been very fortunate in dealing with people who understood the situation, saw the value in what we were trying to accomplish, and as a result of us would work with us. So I've kind of redistributed some things. We do have a little bit of credit card debt now, but nothing that's major. So that's basically how we've been making it each month.
So you're essentially kind of using credit to some degree to, because you're in the, like, if I don't have I'm just trying to think through this, with my simple bank account analogy. If you have money in a bank account, but you don't have enough money to pay your bills, you have to put it on credit cards or something. But then you said you have not a lot of credit card debt, so.
Well, we maintain a certain amount in the checking account, and the goal is not to go below that amount.
Right.
So there's never, because of that, there's never a threat of not being able to pay the bill.
Insolvency.
Okay, so we have, and I'll be honest with you, my credit card debt maybe gets to $5,000. It's very minimal.
Okay.
So it's just that it gives the convenience at that point of not having to pull the cash,
Right. So I'm not an accountant, but Ms. Sellers, what's the current deficit that they're showing? Do you see that?
For the month of February, for the month of February, it was 232,000.
Okay. What does that number exactly represent?
That's their general fund.
Okay.
So that's the operating fund. They do have a capital fund. So remember, we have governmental funds, and then when you add in the other capital funds, you're talking about your government-wide. So our discussion now is they're on their general fund.
I'm trying to understand if they have a $232,000 deficit. Is that what you said? Does that mean that at the end of the year, if you looked at what their expenses are in their operating fund and then looked at how much revenue they're bringing in that they expect to have, that what exactly does that number represent?
So at June 30, on the audited financial statements, where they had a deficit of $305,000 in their general fund, the capital had $693,000 in their capital. You add the two together, that netted to a government-wide of $387,000 in the positive, in the black, as they've been talking. That helps address the question.
Maybe a
That's
little bit.
confusing.
That's confusing.
Yes,
no, it-
because she was,
Because of their capital,
right, their capital keeps them
Correct.
in the
overall,
positive overall, in the black.
which they can't use for their.
Right.
Operation.
That little
Yeah.
number that we see on the report is their operating deficit.
That's, yes, the operating the general fund,
in general.
correct.
So-
And that's what the statutes.
That's what I'm trying to understand is how are you going to make up a $232,000? Like how are you going to get that money if you're saying you're not using credit cards and you're only maintaining $5,000 or so on a credit card, and yet at the end of the year, the way we calculated it, there's going to be $232,000 of debt. How? To me, that doesn't make sense in my mind how that can be.
The funds that will reduce the deficit will be funds that are external to the school right now that will be provided to the school. I do agree with you. And sometimes not quite understanding that whole process of how charter school, the calculations from the annual reports and stuff, it gives some difficulties that's on there in understanding it. But we survive and maintain because we do have a certain amount that we maintain in the accounts for operating. So it's kind of money in, money out, but not impacting that amount that we have in place that's there, that's fixed, that we try to maintain. So it will be external funds that will be utilized that we don't have on the books at this point that will be utilized to reduce the deficit.
Okay, and you're counting on like community charitable donations. Is that kind of what I?
I'm utilizing. I plan to utilize the commitments that have been made for a few people who are generous enough to help us out. And I'm also we'll be utilizing some funding that will come from my own family.
Okay. So, but still, at the end of the year, even with that money coming in, we're calculating a $232,000 deficit. Is that operating deficit? Is that correct?
So right now, it's 232 operating the general fund deficit. She's indicated 100,000 will be gifted to them before
Okay.
fiscal year end. It would still leave the charter school in a deficit of 130,000.
So how do you pay that? How do you pay that? I mean, how are you going to? Just simple accounting. At the end of the school year, it appears that there will be $132,000 of outstanding bills that need to be paid.
Well,
how is that going to happen? Whatever those are, salaries or.
if Ms. Sellos could help us out for a little bit, the question I think he's asking me is, you're still going to have 132K that's left to be paid, and you need money to pay the bills. So, so how are you doing this? Correct?
Correct, that's what he said.
Yeah, that's
All
what I'm
right,
asking.
so the with the growth in enrollment and the income that will come from that, we will continue to operate just as we've been doing this year. That will maintain.
Right.
Okay, so that way we've never ever been in a situation that we couldn't pay our bills. Okay, the money to continue to address reducing the 100 and something that'll be left, I will continue to work with my external funding to be able to help us to do that. So, because until we are grown back to healthier numbers, there would not be enough left over to put a real dent
Right.
in the 132K. So the to continue what we're doing with external funders and people making commitments to help us is the way to come out of this.
So when do you get your new FTE money for the next school year, like the 26-27 school year? When does that money?
Well, it becomes
theory.
effective July 1st, and we normally get it about, what, 10th, 15th of the month?
Correct, about in the middle of the month.
The
They
monthly
start,
payment.
the district sends them in advance using those forecasted projections.
Okay.
The district uses the funds within to pay all of the charter schools their proportionate share for their forecasted enrollment at the beginning of each fiscal year until we get a calc.
I think Mr.
Can I just jump in real quick?
Yeah.
Because this hopefully maybe will help. Is that the same question that you did? This past prior July school year, what was the forecasted enrollment? Do we know that?
Yes.
That they gave to us to use?
60.
Okay. So I think to answer your question, they got money for 60 students
Right.
and only have 45.
Right. Okay.
So that FT money that they got for half the year
Correct.
until Calc 3 comes around, and we said, time out. Those 15 didn't show up. You're no longer getting some of that money anymore. That's where some of that extra money is.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Or isn't?
Isn't.
Well, now it's not.
Yeah.
But it
It was then.
correct.
Okay.
So they were getting money from the district for students that they forecasted that never showed up, that then helped them pave the way to where they could get to where they're at now to pay.
Okay.
But yeah, so
No, I-
hopefully that helps.
That helps. So basically, part of this is it's a little bit of over forecasting on your part, and then you're not getting the funds during the year that you thought you were going to get because of a lower enrollment. Is that part of the problem?
Well, the forecast was the expectation.
Right.
Okay, but when the expectation wasn't realized, then the process, as it was just explained, is that you now have to make the adjustment for what you do have.
Right.
So those you're paid accordingly each month based on that.
Right. So you're getting less money than you expected to get.
We are.
So based on what your budget was.
Correct.
For the fiscal year. Just a couple more questions. So you're taking into account, because we recently, within the last few months or last fall at least, authorized a like a per student payment to you from the 1.0 operating millage tax, right? So
We did receive.
So
yes.
and that's taken into your calculations?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. And you have been getting your portion of the 1.5 mil capital tax,
We
right?
have.
But even with all that, it's unfortunately not putting you in the black, so to speak. I guess if you forecast 60 and you only have 45, that's 25% of your FTE that
Right.
you didn't get. One question from Ms. Sellers, and maybe people that remember this. I know when Lincoln shut down, didn't we? I thought there was something about if it was 90 days and there was a fine. How did all that work? Because I know we ended up having to, when I say we, the previous board, and Mr. Kennedy, you were here for that, right? I thought we had to shut them down.
So
because
I wasn't here when that happened.
Right.
I was, but from my understanding, they were not only a deficit in their general fund, they were also a deficit in their capital fund,
okay.
and they also had
Unpaid bills.
bad grades. So they had like the
Okay.
perfect storm of everything bad.
So what is the risk here that, I guess I'm asking maybe even Dr. Breslin, all of us, is the risk here that even though you seem to be performing well academically, that unfortunately you might get into a situation where you can't pay your bills, and then we have a financial emergency, and then we have to go through, unfortunately, something like what happened with Lincoln, and that's really bad for everybody involved, to include maybe shutting down a school in the middle of the year or something like that because they can't pay their bills. Is that?
Yes, sir. Absolutely. And to be financially stable would be the absolute goal, so that
Right.
we still have, families have the additional option of Oasis Middle. But it is concerning if there continues to be a deficit, especially if that deficit grows, that we could run into a situation where bills are missed and then we have displaced students. And so we want to avoid that by having a sound plan to eliminate the deficit. But at this point, it hasn't been eliminated. So it's something to definitely watch. We hear plans for elimination, but I haven't seen those results.
Okay. It's a shame. We're in this conundrum, right? Because you're a pretty high-performing academic school, but unfortunately your finances aren't in good shape. I mean, I would, because you're a high-performing financial or academic school, I'd be willing to give you like at least give you like the first semester of next year to see if you, because you appear to have some financial contributions coming in, to see if you could turn this around. And then at the end of, maybe the first semester, if things don't work out, then we just take your students and move them to the public school or something. And at that point you might have to shut down. But I'd be willing to give you one more semester to see if you could turn this around, just because you've made significant academic gains, and it's just a shame that we have to shut down a high-performing charter school. That's where I am right now, at least, but I could be convinced otherwise. I'm just trying to think about how we might be able to continue this high-performing school while helping them out with their financial situation. That's all I have for the moment. Thanks.
Thank you. Mr. Choate.
Yeah, thank you. So I don't know if I'm getting sick or allergies or what, but so a couple things. I agree with Mr. Tatum that performance. I mean, if this was a D school, an F school, a C school, I don't think there's a question the way that probably most of the board would lean to. But you guys do a fantastic job in numbers. I mean, those numbers don't lie, right? Like the proof is in the pudding that what you guys do for your students is good, right? Which I think is the saving grace. I agree in giving you some time. Here's my concerns. And I'm not on the board. I'm not a part of the school. Of course, we're getting information obviously throughout the years. So this is just some of my thoughts, right? From a business planning perspective, the school is in Northwest Bradenton. How many students are actually coming from like walking distance? Because we talk about transportation obviously being definitely an issue. So where are your students coming from is something that if it was me, I would be looking at where is our source of revenue, right? Mm-hmm. If we were a business, where are my customers coming from? And I want to be where they are. And I know that's easier said than done. Finding a building, finding a place wherever they are. Maybe it comes from too different neighborhoods, too many different neighborhoods where you can't have one centralized. But that's my first thought is like, is this location the location where you really need to be, I guess?
And I understand the logic behind what you're saying. But here it is for us. The majority of my students come from the east side. The reason why I focused on having a school on the west side was because in addition to teaching our children academics, we're trying to teach them something about life. We're trying to teach them to have a desire to reach for more. And education is the way to do that for them. So in the process of teaching and working with children academically, it goes far beyond just the pen, the pencils, the paper, and the books. We're helping to mold and shape them for their future lives. And part of what we do in our program is we want to give them exposure. We want them to see something that's different than what's the norm for them. So I do understand from a business perspective to say, well, if you want to reach this population of children, then you have a school here as a neighborhood. But we were looking at doing something different in that sense of doing so. And there are, we do have a few walkers, from the community, but a very small number. The bulk of the children are bused in.
Okay. So we know they've got a positive capital dollar amount at the end of the year. And I mean, this may be obviously a question for both. Have we been taking advantage of some salaries partially coming from capital expenses being able to be pulled from the capital funds. Does that make sense?
They don't report, they only provide us on the financials that they give us
Okay.
monthly. They update the general, but their capital fund, literally, they're not even, when they give it to the district, it doesn't even report the PICO, the sales tax, or the 1.5 mil. So we can't see how that's working because they're only required to give us the general for now. So she would be able to answer that question to you.
You
All
can
of
pay
the
bus drivers out of your capital fund.
Yeah, yeah, that's what I mean. That's what I'm.
Did
Yeah.
you know that, ma'am? You can pay your bus drivers out of your capital fund?
I do know that, yes.
I didn't mean to interrupt.
Yeah, no, that's my question, because we obviously have a positive in the capital, and I know you obviously have capital expenses. I mean, there's those things, but are we taking advantage of some of those operational funds that you can, like bus driver, for instance?
I haven't done that as of yet.
Okay, so just think that could be again, I do think it's worth you all working because of the performance you guys are giving to our students, right? But at the same time, just to be quite frank, like the school district is what's giving Oasis Middle the loan to work. Meaning, we gave you money for 60 kids, but you're only at 45. So like that money is, those 15 kids are in our school system, is in the public schools, whether that be at Stewart Elementary or Palmasola or Rogers Gardens, wherever they're coming from to come to you. Those 15 are actually in our school, at our school locations potentially, maybe at other charter school locations. And so the district is the one loaning the money for you all to survive. I mean, that's the reality, right? But you guys are doing a very good job at what you do because you're in B school and then A school last year. So I'm okay with that. But that is the reality, is we are the ones that are helping and propping. Now, I do believe that part of the business plan should absolutely be philanthropic, and I'm glad you're moving that direction. I do believe in our community. There are a lot of folks that want to help in that realm. I would absolutely encourage you to go to the Manatee Community Foundation and ask for them. There's people that have their own funds that go to the Manatee Community Foundation. They give to not necessarily charter schools, but just adolescents and stuff in general. So I would absolutely encourage you to do those things because that is the only way to get out of it. And or like you say, get to where you're 60, right? But you're already at 60 3/4 of the year. You already get 60 kids dollar amounts without having to add the staff and stuff. And so when we do add the staff, I think obviously that obviously adds cost, right? Yeah, I mean, I think from a looking at your organizational chart, your board members, I think they've got to be extremely active in the community. Not saying they're not at all. Look at the board members. I don't know anybody that necessarily pops off the top of my head, but they've got to be active in the community to go out and raise money and get people to support. But I'm willing. I agree with Mr. Tatum. I think because of the scores, I think we give them a chance to kind of correct this philanthropically and go out and try to raise money, because obviously what they're doing with those 45 students is working because their grades are good. Now, if they like I said, if they were a D school and F and they're going back, I mean, yes, that's not doable. But you guys are doing a very good job with our kids, and that to me is number one. Are the kids getting education? Because as Chair Spray has said, those middle schoolers intern in our high schoolers, right? So they're obviously getting education because scores are good and we're getting B and A school. So when those kids are transferring to us in high school, potentially us, I mean, they go to, I guess, another charter school. We haven't tracked them obviously since they've left, but they're coming in with what they need because of what you guys are providing. And so I'm absolutely willing to give more time. I think hindsight's always 20/20, but 3 years ago or so, the philanthropic and all those things should have started probably happening back then. But hey, it is what it is, right? And just my last thing is to you, to your staff, to your teachers. I know you talked about never missing bills, etc. I mean, it's not like you're not paying your teachers and that sort of thing, right? But kudos to your staff for continuing to do and teach those kids and mentor those kids and love on those kids, because that is, they know what's going. I mean, I would imagine they probably know what's going on, right? And so that's a stressful deal, right? And so I'm willing to give some time, try to get some philanthropic dollars in, which I think you can, and see what happens. And I mean, if we want to say a semester, that's fine. I do want to try to avoid middle of the year transitioning kids from Oasis to then wherever they got to go, middle school. Middle school's weird time in general, so then to break it up like middle of 6th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade, when you're coming from an Oasis to go. So I don't know if it's necessarily semester. Is it start of the school year? Like I don't know that number. I'll defer to the smarter people in the room, but I am willing to give them some time because of their performance. That's all I got.
Done? It's fine.
To kind of piggyback after Mr. Choate, I am absolutely willing to give you. I'm going to go for a year because I don't want to move. And he's right. Middle school is weird. I don't want to move kids in the middle of middle school from a small school to a large school, and have them try and figure out what's going on. In terms of that, it's hard enough for them to exist. But I do want to say that Oasis is one of the highest performing charter schools in the district. If you look at all of the other scores, theirs are higher than almost every other charter school in the district. So outstanding. That's very commendable. Congratulations to all your staff. To do all of that and all of this is hard. I have worked in turnaround for education side, not for financial side, and that's a lot of stress on the kids. So to do this in financial turnaround and still keep your kids motivated is commendable. But I do want to say, with regards to the over prediction of numbers of students, that it happened across the entire state.
Sure.
So that's just par for the course this year. So I'm not even going to blink on that one. There are districts that have down thousands of students from what was predicted for this school year and are not getting that third calculation funding. So for me, that's negligible. That's not important because it's happening on a much larger scale everywhere else. So I'm going to support giving them another year. It sounds like you've got a good plan in place. You're working on it. You've got your philanthropic folks coming in, and as Mr. Choate said, there are lots of resources out there that would be willing to support you. Lots of people who want to support education, particularly for our lower income kiddos. And I believe you'll be able to get some really good support out there. So I'm good for a year.
Okay. The reason we brought this up is because of the financials, more than anything.
I understand.
It's the financials. Ms. Sellers, you said after 3 months, you had to do a turnaround plan with the charter. That was then done in 23.
Correct.
And you filed it in January of 24.
Correct. After the 3 months came in December.
Right.
In the month of January, once we had that 3 month, we reported it to DOE and
Okay.
to the charter.
And your plan is, I hope I can raise enough money, and don't want to be the negative Nancy here, but if I ran my checking account, I hope my check comes in. And it's just a donation check.
I understand.
That's hard to plan on. that's hard for, it's a hard sell for me, to be honest with you. I'm just being totally honest with you. It's hard for me to look at a deficit of 232,000. And to the conversation earlier, how, to Mr. Tatum's point, you might come up with another 100,000. It's a commitment, but not a, I don't have anything documented to say you're going to get that. But you're going to roll over $132,000 of debt. And that's what you do. Our fund balance, we watch our fund balance. I have it here. We're at 8%, a little over 8% for our fund balance right now. Your fund balance is very negative. So it's all about the numbers for me, more than anything about the finance. I don't know how you've been able to basically rob Peter to pay Paul. And that's what's been going on in my mind, is trying to get money from this bucket to that bucket. Okay, I'll go out and get a credit card to sustain us. But 3 years is what we're talking about here. So I don't know where the philanthropic plan has been in this 3 years, but waiting till you get down to this point, and that's, I mean, you were at 259 in the red in October of last year. And you came down a little, but then I look at the expenses. You went from, in July last year, 65,000 to 124,000. From July to August, and I'm saying, well, that's probably kids coming back in and teachers and all of that. And then it went up to 188, then it went up to 264, 339, while the revenue kept dropping. So the expenses were going up, but the revenue was coming down. So that's why we're in this conundrum. So I don't know about doing a year. I think in my mind, and talking with superintendent and Ms. Sellers over the past 2.5 years, I've asked, what's the turnaround? How are they doing? We can't see your financials. I don't know how much you pay you as a director. I don't know how much you pay your staff. I don't know how much you pay for anything. All we see is a whole number. And then to Ms. Heyer's point, the audit. The annual audit is typically late. So I've never seen the annual audit. I don't know if I'm privy to that or not. But it's all about the numbers for me. It's been running in a negative since October of 2023, and we're here now saying, oh, we're going to give you another year to run in a negative. I'm not a supporter of that, simply because we've been, I think, pretty patient. It's just been one of those things. I don't want to do this semester deal. I think that having a student in a school for half a year and then taking them out and placing them in another school, and I'm probably the only board member up here that says, I would like to see a positive balance by the beginning of school year. That's where I'm at. I know that's a hard task, but that's where I'm at. So,
Chair.
I don't, sure.
Okay, yeah. So, I guess we obviously have multiple different views, and I would be okay with starting the school year too. By the way, in 6 months, or at least some commitments.
Fruitful commitment.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd be okay with that. We obviously can't do anything at a workshop, so I guess to legal, to what are we doing? I mean, theoretically, what we're saying right now is to give Ms. Bailey our thoughts, but it really,
Right.
there's
So-
no teeth to it.
So if it's okay with the board, we can work with Mrs. Bailey. We've heard, what your wishes are, and then in some board briefings we can bring back as she does additional work with her individuals who might be interested in a donation or some sort, and we'll continue to provide those financial statements and see if we see an improvement, and then we can have conversation in the future about whether Mrs. Bailey comes back, if before school starts, mid-year, or the end of the year. I've heard all three from board members. But I think in giving her May and June, we'll know the test data, and we'll know the true closeout of the school year financials and whether there was success in getting any donations. And so I think at the end of June, we have a more complete picture for the board to consider, and then we can decide next steps. And I think Mrs. Bailey mentioned at the beginning of a presentation that she would be open for another presentation if
Yes.
needed. And so we could do that step again. But I would love the ability to wait till June and have that financial information and the testing data.
I would very much like to come back and present the results and to be able to share the progress as we move forward on this. And Chair, Madam, I understand. I'm a business person, got a lot of business background, grew up in corporate America, so I do understand this. I would like to make a correction in that there is no Rob and Paul to pay Peter here. I'm fortunate and blessed that I have some financial support that when there are shortages, that there are contributions that are made to cover that shortage, because there is no place to pull from anything else, okay? Just developing a school, this July 6th will be 20 years for us in existence. As I look back, to have just positioned us to basically survive financially just from FEFB wasn't 100% wise. I should have been out there cultivating relationships to have fundraisers and contributors all along, which would have given us, some cushion. I regret that during the pandemic, when everybody was taking out loans, it was probably not such a good decision not to take advantage of that, especially since the government turned around and blessed everybody and gave them to them. But I stand on the fact that we're fortunate to have a tremendous team. They come in every day and give their 100%. I will confess that the bulk of the burden of the carrying for this has been on my shoulders, because that's part of my job and not theirs. And I'm 100% committed to finalizing this. Had things been different on the audit for last year, we would have been coming out this year to that zero balance for the fundraiser, for the general fund. So that's why I had made the request to do another year on it. I understand your position. I understand what it is you're trying to accomplish. I'm basically trying to do the same thing as far as for what we do. I would like to see us continue to grow, to get back to some of our original numbers. I have no ambitions to be a big school, nor does my team. We would lose what we do and how we do it trying to be big. So staying small, and there are families who need a small environment. We call it leaving home and coming home. I invite you to come out and visit, to kind of see our operation and see what's taking place. So, but I do not take the financial situation lightly. And when I say to you that I'm fully committed to resolve this, I'm speaking in honesty and truth in doing so.
Madam Chair, go ahead.
I just have one that's a real quick question. I guess maybe two, all relative to the same thing though, and that's the capital. Because we've asked, like, obviously the state, and they say, well, we need the corrective actions and things like that. At any point, will the state allow, I'm not just saying Oasis, any charter school, to pull money from the capital side to level up their debt on the operation side and call it even and move on? Does that make sense?
Not in the way that you're saying, just to
No.
cover a debt, no. They could, a charter school could also do it the way we do it, where we have salaries that are allowed, that are initially paid from the general fund.
And then
Like our
reimbursed.
bus drivers, or people who specifically work on capital type construction projects, where we perform transfers from the
Correct.
capital fund over. And looking at their financials for February that just came to the board on April 7, for the month, and actually for this fiscal year, we see that the revenue that they've reported this whole time has only been in the FEFP, in the general fund, and the expenditures. And to date, through February, while they had revenue of $607,000, they had expenses of $533,000. So it netted $73,000 in the positive, in the black. So that's current operations. The deficit is coming from what is being carried forward from the beginning fund balance.
And then my second part of that question is, hypothetically, a charter school closes with 500,000 in capital funds. Where does that go? Back to the state, or does it come to the district?
Well, it would first have to have, they have a very large mortgage, so their
Sure, clear out some
investment
debt.
in capital assets, which is, at this point, or at least at June 30, that was $693,000. That would probably go to satisfy some of that mortgage
Right,
first. There's a particular checklist that goes out. I'm not aware of what their
fine,
other
fine.
debts are. And there's a process, it's called an expedited review, that would have to go through that whole process all the way down to their banking accounts after liabilities were settled.
Okay, so when you're talking about the operating, we don't get details on what they're spending in operations, what they pay their director, their staff, their utilities, their,
Correct. We
Right.
just have in the big categories where you see the categories, just like we report in the, the instruction, their board, instructional support services, all of those particular functions.
wait, their board, they pay their board? I'm just,
So they have board expenses. I
Okay.
don't know how much in salaries is there, like in that particular line, that's the 7,100 line. I see 15,063 to date for this fiscal year.
okay.
I don't
Okay.
know what kind of expenses along with salaries are in that, or if there's even
Right.
salaries paid. I don't know what that is. It's just expenses.
Okay, Mr. Tatum.
So, Ms. Ellis, did I hear you say that through February, they're actually in, as far as operating expenses go for this school year, they're in the black, they're like $73,000 positive, is that what I heard you say?
Yeah, there's been a net change in the fund balance of 73,000, but when you add in their deficit
Right.
beginning fund balance of 305,000, it leaves you a net deficit of 232,000.
Right, so they're still planning to be in the red at the end of the year.
Correct.
Yeah.
But this school year, they are, if you just looked at this school year, they'd be in the black. Is that,
If you threw out the old debt, their operations are running.
I'm just
Where
making the point
expenses-
that that's going in the right direction, that at least for this school year, they are operating in the black, right? That their revenue is exceeding their expenses.
Expenses, correct.
So that's a positive, so keep that up, ma'am. That's
Yeah, thank you.
The second point is, so my question is, have you been paying your bus drivers? Well, first of all, how many bus drivers do you have? Probably one, or just
One.
the one. Well, have you paid him or her out of the capital fund, or?
No.
You should do that, right? And maybe sit down. There might be some other things that you could be doing, and I'm sure you understand the business, but if you're not doing that, there might be some other little things, $20 here and $175 over there that you could maybe pay out of the capital fund. If that's what you choose to do, I'm just saying that would seem to help.
All our
alleviate your problem.
salaries come out of general fund.
Oh,
Right.
I need to follow correction. Our capital accountant is listening right now. They actually follow a different statute when it comes to the bus drivers. So you might want to concentrate more on the applicable positions that can be funded by the capital
Okay.
fund.
Well, point is sitting down with the experts and figuring out what you can pay out of the
Understand.
capital fund. Of course, there's some bureaucratic rule why we can do it and why you can't. Of course, that's the way government works. And then the last thought I had for you, and then I'll be quiet on this, is have you ever thought about, and I don't know if if anybody would be interested, but like selling your property to an investor with like a 50-year lease or something like that, and then having them take over the mortgage and then just paying rent back, you know, that may not, I know you'd probably like to own your own property, but if there would be an investor out there that would be willing to like buy the property and then lease it back to you, and then that would lower your monthly payment or something, I don't know, but you know, you might explore that option with some private equity or something like that, so.
I appreciate the thought, yes.
That's all I have, Madam Chairman. Thank you.
Okay. So I think the superintendent and attorneys have enough data to look at where we are at the end of the school year and after the PM3 data comes out. Am I understanding that correctly?
Yes, ma'am.
And seeing what the end of the year financials are. I'm going to wish you the very best. And I have, trust me, been giving grace to Oasis because of the performance. But it always comes down to dollars. You got to run a business in a positive. And I know it came from the projections. That's where it all started. And it did for many other districts and schools. It's just how we get it back to the black and keep it going is the biggest question that I have. So let's see where we are at the end of the school year and then make a decision on if we're going to do the semester or the year based on that data. I think that's where we're at, and I'm going to be out there. There's people that have money in deep pockets that will help you.
Okay.
I'm sure there is. It's just a matter of touching base with them. So I want to thank you for coming. Okay?
Thank you, everyone, for having me and hearing me out. Appreciate it.
Sure. Okay, board, it's been 2 hours since we've been here. I'm going to take a little 10-minute recess, if that's all right. Or I don't know about the lunch situation. We still have a lot of items on our agenda. Yeah, we have quite a few things on our agenda. Do you want to just recess for lunch real quick? Or do you want to do a 10-minute?
I would just do 10 minutes. Me
Okay, and we
personally,
can
come
do
back
lunch
and
later, yeah.
Get the calendar at least done and.
Yeah, okay, at least get halfway through our agenda, but I do need a 10-minute break. So we are in recess. Okay, and we are back from 10-minute recess, a little 5 minutes late. Sorry about that. Conversations take place after we do recesses, and sometimes they go a little deeper than you plan. Next on our agenda is the discussion regarding the school year calendar for 27-28. How fun. Okay, Superintendent.
Thank you, board members. We have Dr. Cadelia, Executive Director of Elementary Schools, who led our calendar committee this year, and we also have Mr. Jensen and Mrs. Scarborough here as well, all participants in the calendar committee for several years. And so, Dr. Cadelia, I'll let you take it away.
Okay, thank you. Good morning, Chair, Vice Chair, and school board members, and Dr. Breslin. Yes, it has been my pleasure to be able to lead this committee, but with it very smoothly, actually. It's been a great experience. We're at that point now, though, where we want to get some public opinion, present it to you first. I will be taking notes if you have any suggestions. And then we'll take that out to the public today, and I'll show you a schedule in just a moment. So with that said, I'm going to go to the first slide. I think you all know what this committee represents, but the academic calendar purpose is really so that students, staff, parents can all really see what's happening through the year and start planning their vacations, start planning their time. And also know when testing's coming close and just really get a good sense of what's going on in the district. Now, we're looking at 2027, 28 at this point. We did, just to give you some background, we did do a big search of other districts in the surrounding areas. So we used that information also as we formulated these drafts. We have 2 drafts. We also looked at the neighboring, as I said, the neighboring districts. We also looked at some that didn't have their calendars up yet, like Sarasota. We thought, oh, that'd be interesting, but I did not see that posted yet. So we may actually post before them. But it's really good to see what other schools are doing and how many kids are going to be on the beach and all of that. So let's see, for school start and end dates, those you will see listed there, and hopefully you got both of the options already. We look at breaks, we look at early release dates, employee paid holidays, in-service dates, semester start and end dates, and then, of course, and that's why Ms. Scarborough is here as well, high school semester exam windows, and any questions that you might have about high school or secondary, she would be able to answer those. The members of the committee, I was really surprised when I walked into room 203, and I think there were 26 people in the room, which makes you know that they're interested. They definitely want to have a say and be part of this whole process. So the committee was comprised of parents, community members. We had Dawn Walker, who's from the MEA, with us, elementary, middle, and high school principals. We even had a couple of really great high school students there who lent their thoughts as well. And then different departments. We had assessment, accountability, and research. You all know Evan McCarthy. Food and nutrition services, human resources. We had the Office of Student Demographics, payroll, transportation, curriculum. So you can see it was quite a complete team of folks. I'm sure you know the school board policy, number 8210, which upon the recommendation of the superintendent, you would approve this calendar. And again, I'll show you that would be in June. There are certain things that we have to follow by statute, and that is the length of the standard school year. The school year consists of 180 days of class for students and 196. So we spent a lot of time counting days to make sure that that would happen. The opening date for schools is, as you know, is August 10th or later. So we did decide to go with August 10th for both of those, even though it didn't fall on a Monday. And then the school year would be divided into 2 semesters, approximately equal in length, and we got pretty close to that. You should have a copy of the calendar, which actually we decided to use a new format this year, and that was someone on the committee said, you know, I have so much trouble. I have a child, and I tried pulling up the calendar, and all I see is like I got to move it around because it used to be horizontal, so now it's vertical. So we thought that was a nice change. So this is basically what option A looks like. We have, and I don't want to bore you with all of the dates, but we have like district in-service days listed there, professional learning early release days, and then the elementary early release days as well, 4 of them. And then when teachers return from winter break, that on both calendars is going to be the 3rd. And then students return on the 5th, if we go with these calendars. The big difference, and I'll show you all the differences, is spring break. Ms. Felton asked about spring break. Does it fall like too late to get kids ready for testing? And both Ms. Scarborough and I agreed, no, not on this calendar, it doesn't. But there are 2 options, so we'll look at both of those options to make sure you feel comfortable with that. And then the last day for students to meet that count was on May 26th. And record day or last day for teachers would be on May 30th.
Can I ask a question real quick, please?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, I would rather the board be able to ask questions as we go through the deck.
Perfect.
Okay, so go ahead, Mr. Tatum.
Sure.
I was just clicking through my Outlook calendar here. It appears, maybe I'm not looking at this right, that January the 3rd is on a Sunday. Is that, because if we can go back to that slide, didn't say teachers would come back on the 3rd, is that,
It's a Monday on this.
It's a Monday.
is Monday on this calendar?
It's a Monday. 2027.
Oh, 2027.
28.
28.
Oh, we're looking at the 20 calendar. Okay, great. See, that's why I said.
Right.
Okay, it's all good. Thanks. That's all I got.
And that's a Monday. Ms. Felton, you're good? Mr. Choate, you ready?
I mean, go ahead and finish.
Okay.
You guys, I don't have to ask something right now, or say something right now. So go ahead.
Go ahead.
You're good, Dr. Padilla.
Okay, so option B, as you can see, district in-service days, again, there are only a few dates really that we changed among those. The in-service days to the beginning of the school year, there was a lot of discussion about that. And then also the in-service versus the teacher work days. Some of the members of the committee felt it was very important for teachers to be able to get those work days up front so that they were ready for open houses that might take place like on that Thursday, especially in the elementary realm. And then some felt, well, no, wait, maybe we have the teacher work day right before kids get back. So Mr. Jensen and I were talking about that actually yesterday and this morning. What we do is we try to show grace as the district is preparing those in-service days. So even if you have an in-service day that's right before students get back, in most cases, we give a little time for teachers to get their rooms ready and get the name tags on the tables and all of that. So it wouldn't be completely preoccupied with that in-service time. So that was the reasoning for, putting those days at the end on calendar A. Professional early learning release days also, as you can see, the calendar B was interesting because October ended up being very full of early release days and record days and things like that. So the discussion around that was, well, maybe we should not have everything in October, especially for parents who are taking off work or have to pick up their kids. So that's why in calendar A, we have one of those days in September. So it's a little bit earlier on, but it relieves October a little bit. And then they return the same day from winter break in this calendar. Record days are similar. Again, we tried to kind of mirror what we've done in the past. And this is the big difference, the spring break. It would be the week after. And there are a couple of counties in the area that do that week, not many. But again, that whole issue of are we going to encounter not having a whole lot of time to prepare kids for testing, or not as much. And then the last day for students on the 26th, and then record day again on the 30th.
Okay. I have a question. It's more a comment, maybe. Memorial Day is on the 29th, and then we're bringing staff back on the 30th. I don't, and with the last day of school being the 26th, that's kind of a hard ask for me for staff to come back after a holiday weekend. because that's a holiday weekend. It's like Saturday, Sunday, Monday. Come back Tuesday, close out your year. Is that basically what we're doing?
We had to get the number of days in,
Right.
so that was the whole reason for that. But we needed to obviously take Memorial Day off, so it did push it one additional day, yeah.
I
There's,
mean, most teachers just take it off.
pardon me?
They might
I mean,
finish up.
if it was me as a teacher, like my grades were done, I would just take that day as a personal day.
Right, right.
Some will, I'm sure. Or they'll-
Historically, I mean, how often does,
It happens about every 5 to 6 years where
Yeah.
that record day is on the day after Memorial Day. It's happened for several years.
It's like,
And-
about
and
every 7 years?
Yeah,
That's
it
basically
happens.
how it goes.
Yes, yeah.
it
Um,
happens.
On a guesstimate, how many staff members take a PTO off for that day?
It's hard to
Paid
say.
time off. I'm using an acronym.
It's hard to say.
I don't know if I could
Yeah.
guesstimate that. A lot of times the teachers come back that last day. It's their last time to see their colleagues. They close out the year. I don't know that it's those
Any
that may
classroom,
have something, they have
Right.
that option, but I think it'd be difficult to have an estimate.
As a
Okay.
principal, I know a lot of my teachers did choose to be there that day because they wanted to clean their rooms and they wanted to get ready for the next year
Right.
before the summer came. So I don't have a number for you. If you need me to check,
Okay.
I could try to find that.
Well, that's feedback. We can get feedback from staff members as well. They can go on and, when we post this, and we can get feedback from all of them. We got a teacher down there ready to give us feedback. I'm sorry, were you up first?
No, go ahead.
Okay.
It is a little annoying having done this many times. But, you know, depending on who your administrator is, I'm not throwing anybody under the bus because I'm not going to mention names. But sometimes, you know, you may be told that just check in via email, and maybe you don't actually have to physically show up at the school that day because
Okay.
you've got all your grades in and you've done all your time and everything's done.
Mrs. Felton, if they don't show up for work, they should take the day off. I do have to state
Yeah,
that.
I know. Yeah, technically they should, but that's not always the way things happen. So I'm just saying that
I wouldn't-
sometimes it happens.
Yeah. I wouldn't
I've never done
recommend
that
that as a
myself, so I'm a good
standard. Okay. You're telling on yourself.
I think you're lifting somebody over the bus, not throwing them under.
Yeah, yeah.
Just remember, we have employees that don't have that option, that aren't classroom instructors, and so just to be equal on our requirements for all employees, that would be what I would say is our policy.
Yeah. Mr. Choate, then Mr. Kennedy.
Yeah. So, couple things. As far as the option A or B, sorry, I mean, I'm going to give that to the curriculum team. Like, if we feel like the 13th to the 17th is better for spring break than the 20th to the 24th, like, I mean, I think this calendar looks good from a standpoint of when they start. I've heard a lot of feedback that parents actually, especially with little ones, elementary school, they like not doing a full 5 days like off the jump, like start of school. They like having it like a Tuesday, Wednesday start because it's just easier to acclimate little ones, you know, except until by like Thursday or Friday of a full 5 day, they're like zonked, right?
Yeah.
So I do like it starting Tuesday. Only couple things I would say, just as a thought. It doesn't have to change by any means, but so January coming back on the 5th, and I know we got to get our days, so it kind of is what it is, but that is 2 days, the 3rd and the 4th, without being school that most parents are going to have to work. So that's just a concern.
I agree.
But it is what it is. And then what else? I like the fact that we put in the hurricane days potentially for 20th and 21st of December. You go back 2 years ago, when goodness gracious, we had to make a lot of changes.
Oh, my
A
goodness.
lot of people were upset, like, why would you put hurricane makeup days on November in the beginning of Thanksgiving and not use them? That is a good, valid point. I would say, for me, like any of this language, is like subject to change, right? Like we may have that somewhere. But and I hope just parents in general would know, like just because those dates are asterisks to use them as hurricane, if you all feel, the superintendent and your staff feel that this is a better way to do it rather than taking those days, which is what we did 2 years ago, and I think it worked out. I don't want people to think like this is the only time we're gonna have makeup days or these two. So I don't think we've ever done that in December before. Designated those days, have we?
No, we technically, we had historically have done days right around the Thanksgiving break.
Right.
And then
But not during Christmas.
not during Christmas.
Yeah. So I do like having that option if we want to.
Right. But we had a very unusual active hurricane season 2
years
years
ago,
ago.
then last year, nothing.
That required us to do some things differently. But I think that helped us realize that maybe there are some better answers. In any case, should a storm arise, we would work with the board on a new, not a new calendar, but on the makeup days to make sure we get our times and minutes and that there would be conversation around that process.
Great. But other than that, other than those comments, like I said, the Monday, Tuesday of January, which we just may not be able to avoid, and maybe just having something on here of subject to change for families. Great job. I know this isn't easy. So I appreciate all your work, everybody who is involved. One other just quick end note. This isn't necessarily about changing the calendar. And I don't know if this is going to be a Scott Hansen thing, but you know how there's apps on our phones. So I have it for the Florida Gators and the Miami Dolphins, where it downloads onto my calendar what days, who they're playing, etc. Could we potentially have something that our parents could elect to download to put on there, whether it be their Google Calendar or Yahoo Calendar, or their Outlook, whatever it is, that would give them those days. And
Right.
I'm not the person to ask about how to create an app and do all that. I just utilize them. So I don't know if that's something we can work on.
That's a great idea. I'll talk to Mr. Hansen. I do have the Gator one, Miami Dolphins. I can't explain why you have that. But,
I like to live in misery. I like to live in misery.
but Mr. Chet, I think that's a good suggestion for families, and so I'll follow.
I think it'd be easier than
Go to the
have
website.
and then you got to pick which one and which year, and
Good point.
it would be nice to have it downloaded actually. So that's all I got.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Go noted.
I just, if I may,
Yes.
my turn. I
Yes,
just have
it
two
is.
quick things. Personally, I prefer A, only because of the balance in between quarter 3 and quarter 4. On A, you've got quarter 3 has 46 days, quarter 4 has 48. Whereas on calendar B, which pushes spring break back a full week, that gives you quarter 3 with 50 days and quarter 4 with 44. So I just, maybe it's just the way my brain works. I don't know. That balance kind of strikes me as the right way to do it. Kind of for the academic structure of the curriculum department. And then finally, and I say this every single year, and I'll say it again this year, I personally would prefer if we don't have any religious references on the calendar, or if we're going to have them, I think we have to include all of them, because we have references to Christian holidays and Jewish holidays only. We are a public institution. Not all of our students and families are Christian or Jewish, so I would just ask the board to think about that. The establishment, we're not establishing a religion, but we are recognizing two specific religions as a public institution. So if we're going to include two, I think we should include whatever input we get back from the community saying, hey, I'd like these holidays to be included too. I think the cleanest way to do it is just leave all religious references off. But I'll try again this year, see how it goes.
And
Real quick.
yeah, just to address a couple of the holidays, they are specifically referred to in some of our required paid holidays. Good Friday is a required paid holiday in our contract. So I think that's why it's specifically
okay, fair enough. I didn't realize that.
noted
Okay.
as
Right.
Good Friday.
Yep.
But certainly the board could choose to list it just as paid holiday. But I think that was some of that intention.
Okay, thank you.
for-
I didn't realize that was contract.
Doesn't answer every question, but.
Sure.
My quick question to that was: are you referring and saying that the other holidays that aren't listed should just be listed, or should be days off?
No, no,
Or
I'm
both,
just
or
saying,
neither, or whatever.
like, like Rosh Hashanah is noted on the calendar, even though it really has no effect on the school days. It's just
Gotcha.
noted as this is Rosh Hashanah.
Gotcha.
So it has no effect on the school calendar, it's just noted.
Because it's the academic calendar, and we do have students who might recognize Rosh Hashanah, they would not be expected to perhaps not attend and/or do any assessments that day. And so it drives some academic decisions from our teachers that has been helpful in the past for teachers to understand, maybe I don't want to schedule an assessment that day because I could have students who are observing Rosh Hashanah. That I think was the original intention of
That
adding
would make
it,
sense, yeah, sure.
but currently the board's preference.
That's all I have.
Okay. Ms. Belton?
I will be serious now in these comments. I really, really appreciate the 2 full weeks of winter break for teachers and staff, because in the past there has been teachers come back on Friday and then they have Saturday and Sunday and then they're back on Monday. So they effectively, wherever they're traveling to, have to come back 4 days earlier than everybody else. You know, and that takes time away from their families as well, for those last couple of days of break where they had to be taken away from their families. So I really very much appreciate that you fit it into 2 weeks.
Great.
Hopefully we can continue to do that again, because that was something that irked me as a teacher. I prefer calendar A. I like, as Mr. Kennedy said, I like that the more balance between the third and fourth quarter, and getting the spring break in a little earlier so that there's more prep time for testing. I have a school board friend in another district who they came back last week. They had spring break, and then they came back, and now they're testing like immediately after. So the earlier, for me, the earlier the spring break, the better. Because then there's not that panic of, oh my gosh, we have 1 day to review and then we have to test, you know. So I really like that as well.
Great.
Mr. Tatum?
Okay, this slide just shows the differences
I
between.
think Mr. Tatum had a comment real quick.
I'm sorry.
Not necessarily, other than to say,
I didn't realize.
in the 3 years I've gone through this, I'm just whatever employees want to do is kind of what, you know, doesn't matter to me. So I won't be making a lot of comments.
Okay.
All right, thanks.
Thank you.
I thought you wanted
I
to say
appreciate
something,
it.
so
I got
I
my
didn't
2
wanna-
cents in.
make you feel left out.
No, I was feeling kind of left out. I was a little hurt, but you finally acknowledged me.
Yeah.
I feel much better now. Thank you.
Okay, good deal. Ms. Quincy, go ahead.
So this slide shows the specific differences. The district in-service days, how those would be slightly different. The elementary early release days as well, and as I explained to you about October being kind of loaded on one of them. And then your spring breaks, which we've discussed. So as far as the approval timeline, today, of course, is the board workshop. After this meeting, my assistant, Rachel, will be sending out on the website a survey to find out what folks think. That survey will be a link for 30 days. We look forward to getting comments. We encourage comments because that will help us in the final process. And then by June 9th, we should have 2 or 1 calendars for you to review at that point. We'll look at the comments, and then hopefully you will be able to approve it that day, should all go well. So June 9th is kind of our cutoff date at this point.
Okay.
And that's it as far as what I have
And
to
then that would
present.
come to the board on what date?
I would have to look at the calendar, but we would provide the results to you prior and then prepare.
June 9th.
So we would have, right. So it,
That next meeting.
right, that's what I'm looking to see. So we have a workshop on the 16th. So what was the date again? I'm sorry.
June 8th, it has to be done by.
Has to be, okay.
Right, so June
So the
9th.
16th,
Night.
to bring it back on what the surveys were and what we could workshop it then.
Sure.
And then put it on the calendar to vote on the 23rd.
We could, and of course, Madam Chair, it's up to you, but depending on how the survey results, and we'll share those as they're coming in with board members. If it's pretty clear that there's one preference over the other, we could add it to June 9th, have some discussion and do approval on the same date, if the board
Oh,
wishes.
okay, yeah, I see, June 9th. Okay,
Right. Now, if we feel like there's a lot of thoughts and opinions surrounding it that come out in the survey, then there could be a need for additional discussion. So really, those survey results, as Dr. Cordelia said, are key to help drive our next steps.
so what was the shut-off date for surveys? Was the 9th?
It would be 30 days, so starting today would be day one.
Okay, so day 1, so April, May, so that would put us right there
Yeah.
at the line.
Mid-May.
Okay, okay. So you're saying at the June 9th board meeting, we'll review and vote on it, is what you're saying?
And we'll get the information to you prior to that, definitely.
Okay, okay, board, do you hear that? That we will get the information as it comes through, and
Yep.
during our board briefings, will be updated then, and we'll be able to make an informed decision on June 9th.
Yes, ma'am.
That's good. I mean, we've
Yeah.
already gotten an email about what the calendar's gonna look like for this school year, and I'm like, so I copied and pasted what the process was and returned that back to the parent, so they would know how we do this. So that, I think that's a good plan.
Great.
I think it's a great plan. And thank you so much.
Great, thank you.
Because I'm real impressed that you had 20-some people.
It was amazing.
I'm like,
Amazing.
wow, I think that's probably the biggest turnout for this particular calendar year. So I'm glad that people are paying attention and being involved. I love it. Just love it. Mr. Tatum?
That's all
You
I have to
done?
say about that. Yeah, I'm
All
done.
right, I just want to make sure. Anyone else? Anyone else? Okay. Thank you again.
Thank
Okay,
you.
thank you.
All right. So next is a construction update. I'm going to ask the pleasure of the board if they want to do lunch real quick. It's like 12:15, or do you want to move on?
Let's do one more.
Okay.
That's my suggestion.
Are you good for one more?
One more.
All right,
Fine.
let's do it. Come on
Blood
down,
sugar's dropping.
construction.
I'm trying not to see that.
You're saying do one more?
Yeah, let's do one more
Yeah.
item.
Emergency.
I do.
Have a safety class.
So, board members, we have this phenomenal team with us today. Of course, you know Mr. Clark, and that is not Derek Jensen. That is actually Regina Tomas.
say,
is
Derek
there.
and Annette
Change
changed.
all the, change it all. Mr. Clark, is yours right there?
And then we have Mr. Goff and Mr. Henson. Mr. Goff will lead the construction update. Mr. Henson will lead the update on our landscaping pilot.
Oh, two items.
And,
Okay.
of course, Regina and Willie are here to answer any questions that you all might have.
Okay, Mr. Goff, if you could take that name tag from in front of you for the public and remove Mr. Chapman under it.
Oh, it's like a magic trick.
I just don't want the public to be confused at who's presenting.
Right.
So
our own name tags next time.
that's great. It's all good. Okay,
Okay, let me see if I can find my presentation here.
go right ahead. Take your time.
Okay.
The construction update.
Construction update. Okay. Is it?
DCX, DCX
Oh.
project.
in one.
Wonderful.
There you go.
All righty. Members of the board.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Breslin, other
Do you wanna-
district
Mr.
staff.
Goff, I'm sorry, I forgot to introduce Dr. Halpin, and we have Elizabeth as well with the early learning here. There's a brief mention of SOAR 4 updates and our construction update to look for as well.
Right.
All righty. Thank you. I'll go ahead and begin. Again, thank you for the opportunity to discuss the status of our construction project to date. The first one I'd like to start with is the Rye Ranch Elementary School. Project is going extremely well. The envelope of the building is approximately 95% complete. The mechanical systems in place currently about 65% completed to date. Our site work is going along extremely well. We're approximately 60+% of that done to date. The project is slated to be completed by July of this year for an August opening. And Skanska and PBK are doing an excellent job on that project. So we anticipate to open this project on time, Dr. Breslin, and invite our public to enjoy this new facility. Second project that we have is the Veterans School, Elementary School, which was Artisan Lakes. That project, again, is a prototype of what we're currently constructing over at Rye Ranch. This project is moving well under the circumstances. We've had some hiccups on this project as it relates to environmental issues, but the project is going along very well. The envelope is almost complete. Likewise, we're about 70% complete with the site work. The mechanical systems are approximately 65% or better completed. Site work is moving along very well. With both of these projects, we're working with FP&L, and hopefully by the end of the month, we'll have air conditioning, and we can go ahead and expedite the interior finishes of that building.
Mr. Goff, let me, we have a phased opening for that. You noted on the sheet there with
Yes.
the 16 classrooms coming about August, right, for the opening.
That's correct.
September will be the phase 2. That's the media center and cafeteria. And then phase 3 in December, so it'll be ready for January. So we're excited about that.
And the delay was because of turtles.
It's a big part of
Correct.
it, yes, ma'am.
That was part of the delay. Yes, it was.
How do you,
Okay.
I have a question real quick.
Oh, we have a question? No, I'm only kidding you.
Yes, Mr. Statham.
How do you feed the kids if the cafeteria is not open? Because it says September 26th is when the cafeteria will open.
Miss Regina?
We're going to transport the meals from another school
Okay.
there temporarily.
So the room will be open with tables and chairs.
So the cafeteria probably won't be open, but there's some other type of space that we'll be able to use. We've had to do that at a few other schools like Blackburn and Palmasola on a temporary basis. So we'll do the same there.
Great. That's all I
There are
have.
2 resource rooms we've allocated for the feeding of those kids at the first floor level, Mr. Tatum.
Okay.
And we might be able to expedite and have the cafeteria working by the time we open up in July. We're pushing very hard to make that happen, but in case it doesn't, we've got accommodations to feed them in those resource rooms.
Great. Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay.
The next project is on AAA High School. We've got the foundations going at that particular school right now for the new classroom addition and the cafeteria. Project is moving very well at this stage of the game. Jill Bain and PBK, again, not PBK, but Shingle Schultz are doing an excellent job, and we look forward to having this project completed in September of 2027.
Okay.
The MTC Aviation Classroom and Lab Project, that project, again, is moving along extremely well. The 14,000 square foot classroom addition, we've got the foundations and we've got the first floor slab poured along with the first floor vertical walls. With the tie beams currently under construction, we're looking to drop the ceiling joists so we can begin to close that building up and get it prepared for interior finishes. That project is scheduled to be completed September of 2026. We'll be proceeding with the hangar project, which is the second phase, and we're looking forward to having that being completed around January of 2027. Project is going along very well. Johnson Locks, the CM that we currently have on that project, is doing an extremely proficient job, and we're pleased to have him at this stage of the game.
Just a little small note. Last month, I did a trip, and I went by this purposely to see this going on. That was in March 16th.
Yes, ma'am.
And then when I came back on that following, whatever day it was, a lot of travel confusion on that trip. But I saw that project, and I told my husband, that's our hangar. That's going to be our hangar. So I'm very proud of this project. Can't wait to see it. I can't wait for the ribbon cutting.
Yeah, we're very pleased with this one.
Yep.
Can I ask a question there,
Sure.
please? Just so I understand what exactly is going on with this project. So we have classrooms, correct? And then we have a hangar.
Yes, sir.
And then we funded that with
appropriation.
with our money, so to speak, right?
An EDA grant.
EDA, Economic Development
Development, yes, sir.
Authority. But then we're trying to build another hangar. Is that, aren't we building are we building a second hangar or not?
It's only one.
Just the one.
Only
hangar.
one, Mr. Tatum.
Okay. So wasn't there was something about two buildings and you had to separate them by a foot because one pot of money was being used to build one building and one pot of money was being used to build the other building. Did that all get resolved, or there was
Yes, sir.
federal money flowing in and it was just
Yeah, we got
another-
the federal monies and everything resolved on that.
Okay.
It's all coming from a grant that we're using to fund that project, the EDA.
Okay, and it's just the one hangar then, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, great.
Yes, sir.
And do we have to have a 3.5 inches between each building to comply with some funding requirements or something like that, or?
No, I don't think there's an issue with that, sir.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
So it's all together in one. And that, my understanding, that was going to drive up the reason I bring that up is it was going to drive up the building cost because you had to build another wall, two buildings with like a foot between them or something.
Yeah, we got to resolve,
That all
Mr. Tatum.
got
Everything
resolved.
was within the original budget that we had established.
Good. All right then.
And,
Go
and we
ahead.
also got state appropriations for that.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah, we did. Okay, great. That's all I have then.
state
Thanks.
and federal funding, so. Any other board members? All right, okay.
Okay.
Go on.
The next project is the Harvey K8, excuse my French.
right.
But that project is getting ready to start. We're waiting for the approval of our traffic study from Manatee County, which is going to come up around April the 23rd. We don't anticipate any issues with that, but as soon as we get that approved, and I think we've got our swift permit approvals, we'll begin construction probably sometime this summer to get that project on.
Awesome.
Next project, Lake Manatee K8. The addition is under construction currently. It is about 20, we're looking about 20% complete. Foundations are in place. The slab on grade has been completed. The first level vertical walls are in place. We're getting ready to drop precast next week to start the second floor addition. The project is moving well. We anticipate construction completion by the end of the year, and NDC is doing a great job on that project thus far.
And just a side note on that project, drove by it yesterday. The building, the development out there has grown so much from the beginning of this project that you can't even see the school from the road now. I just
Yes.
wanted to make that note. It's just, that's why, you know, we have to do these things. As you just drive by and see the growth, we gotta react to the growth. So I just wanted to point that out. Board members, good? Okay.
Palmasola Elementary School. Palmasola Elementary School, the addition is complete. Students are currently enjoying the new facility. The next phase of the project is to demolish the existing school. We anticipate that being completed around October, November of this year. MENS Construction is doing an outstanding job, and that project is going along extremely well. It's been accelerated. We finished ahead of schedule, and the team has done a great job in bringing that to fruition.
May I?
Yes, you may.
So I was actually there last week and got to walk around in the new building. It is so neat. You know, given how old the existing building was, it was built in the 60s, and to be able to walk around the new building, it's very fresh looking, very modern. I think the kids are going to love it in there. And all of the upgrades that we now use on a regular basis are going to be available to these kids. So I just wanted to say that it looks phenomenal. And we were walking by, going down the long path to get around to the new construction, and the trucks were out there knocking over walls as we're walking by, and seeing them take it down. But the kids are still all working hard. They're still getting their stuff done and focusing. But it was really neat to be able to see it in that stage.
Yes, ma'am. It's been a great collaborative effort working with our principals and the CM staff and the architects. It's been a seamless progression, and it's been a great project to work on.
This was one of the first projects when I came on the board. Actually had to do a Teams meeting to join that conversation. So I'm pretty proud of this one. It's kind of close to me. Anybody else?
The next project on our, that we're looking forward to getting started is the Moody Elementary School
Yeah.
all campus renovations. We currently have Williams Design Associates as our architect. We're getting ready to bring on Willis Smith onto this project. We're looking forward to start design and anticipating our construction manager into this month so we can get this project beginning. Jeffrey Medwich will be our project director, and this will be a total campus renovation, and we're looking forward to it.
I just have a quick question for you. When we're looking at these slide pictures, the buildings, I don't know if that's north or south,
The top is north.
Okay, the top
Yes.
is north. So south of this facility, those are all portables?
Yes, ma'am.
And those will be eliminated with
Yes.
this? Yes. Okay, just want to confirm it.
Tillman Elementary School, again, this will be an all-campus HVAC renovation as well. We're going to utilize this new facility also to, the renovation of this facility to place our Soaring 4 program in this particular, at this particular campus. Looking forward to working with Dr. Halpin to ensure that this happens. I think it's going to be a great addition to this project. We're working on, we got Long and Associates, I think, if I'm not mistaken, is the AE, and we're working on the construction manager as we speak. This project will hopefully get started sometime this summer, and probably be a 18-month project to complete.
And so I just wanted to add to that, the Soaring 4, the way that they're working to design it, it would have a separate
building,
separate entrance, so the school business can continue without interruption from Soaring 4, as you know, are very busy, thankfully, spots for young families and school field trips and et cetera. And so they'll be able to operate independently.
Right, and that was one of my goals, is to get a Soaring 4 north of the river. And I've been at this campus several times, and I think ideally where you're planning to put that is perfect, because it's kind of over here and you can't fence off and keep the campus secure, but allow the Soaring 4 to operate as well.
Yes, ma'am.
So I know Ms. Felton has her hands up, but I also want to give, did you? Okay. Charlie has something? Go ahead.
Part of this got answered, but as long as we're on, I had a question about the Soaring 4 building too. So the outstructure there, in the scope of work, Reggie, you give a good description of what's happening overall on campus. So that outbuilding that will become the Soaring 4 lab, it's all the same things that are happening on the Tillman campus itself are happening to that building. So it's not like we're knocking the building down and
That's right.
rebuilding. It's just kind of a new roof, systems upgrades. Stuff
Yes,
like
sir.
that. Okay, got it. Thank you.
And
So
as we
that's
go through with the
included in the
design,
project?
we'll further develop it for review by Dr. Halpin and everybody, so that we can get the direct result that we want from it. Okay.
So, I just want to pop in here. So, the plan for this to renovate that building for the Soaring 4 is included in this?
Yes, it is.
Oh, wonderful. That's perfect. Okay. Ms. Felton?
Well, I also, like Miss Bray, have been really anxious to get a Soaring 4 north of the river. So that'll be great, because obviously both of our districts are up there. So that'll be really great. I was actually at Tillman 3 weeks ago and got to walk through what will be the Soaring 4 building, and to go around the campus. And that really is that's a terrific location. It's not super busy. And it's nice little tucked into the little quiet area. It's got its own parking lot. So that's going to be a great benefit. I do have a question regarding the work on the school. Are you going to keep the front profile of the building? Because it's gorgeous. I mean, I loved walking in there with the tower in the front. Are you going to keep that, or is that going to go away?
No, we have not identified any reasons to change that. We might modify the entry so they'll be more efficient, and the security component of it can be upgraded. But the overall architectural texture of the building as it currently stands. We're not going to modify it.
Okay, yeah, it's very unique, and it really stands out, and I think it brings a nice little aspect to the school.
Okay.
And all of that'll be fleshed out in design, correct?
During the
Mr.
design
Gall?
phase, yeah.
And I have a question about the courtyard. I see the sidewalks coming into a circle. I don't know if it's possible, but I thought like some kind of little fountain there would be good, but I know that takes maintenance and, yeah. I've had to deal with a few fountains and properties that we dealt with in the corporate world, and it's not fun, but visually they're nice and they're soothing for students. So I don't know if it's something we could do.
I think our risk management is shaking in their boots right now at the thought of a body of water in the middle of the.
Oh, no,
middle
I'm
of
not
every
talking
campus.
body of water. I'm talking a little,
Yeah, just
yeah,
I'm
I'm
teasing.
not even a bubble. It's just more like I don't know. Yeah.
We may have to come and ask for more money.
Oh, well, we might want to put something else there, then it's
Well,
not going to cost
not just for
anything.
that, I'm just saying with SOAR and 4 and things of that nature. So we'll be taking it to design and we'll bring it back in front of you here the next couple months. I bet.
Give us some options when you do.
Yes,
When you
ma'am.
do
I can do
design,
that. We
have
can do
them,
that. We
to
can
make
do
it
that, definitely.
aesthetically nice there. I can't remember what their mascot is, but maybe a statue of their mascot.
We can entertain it.
Right.
We can entertain that.
Well,
The Tigers.
Okay, the Tigers.
this
Okay.
kind of leads us into the next part of the presentation around landscaping. I don't know if you want to let us start that now or just have a few slides.
Do you want the team to go into the landscaping and then have a fuller conversation about?
Yep.
Would that be okay with the board?
Yeah, we can go right into
All
landscaping,
right,
I
thank
think.
you.
Shift some seating and go right into that.
Good afternoon.
Yeah,
I know it's been a long day for y'all already. Can you hear me okay?
there you go. That's
Thank you.
good.
Todd Henson, Director of Maintenance Operations. Thank you for having me here. We were tasked with putting together some information regarding landscape enhancements for the district, and we've come up with some ideas and plans. We're going to share that with you. And we're going to start with what we call the Bashaw pilot. And we selected Bashaw Elementary School because it was a blank canvas for us to try to develop some landscaping that it's really reflective of just the site itself because it's somewhat unique. And what I mean by that is Bashaw has a very open canvas front. There's nothing there. They have a very dark brick wall behind that area as visitors and parents and students may enter the campus. So the idea was to try to develop some landscaping with color and bring some light in, which you'll see in just a minute what we're doing. And I think if you were to ride by, it actually is there. However, it is not like the picture you see at the bottom. That was embellished a little bit to see what it could look like in the future. And so we call that like the Selby Gardens version. That's not it.
Oh.
So what we've done is we created we'll call it a plant palette, and the centerpiece is it's called a dwarf firebush. It's orange. It's an attractant for hummingbirds, and around that we have coontie palms and blue porterweed that support that plant. They're also attractants for pollinators, and we have ground cover called perennial peanut and sunshine mimosa. All this is very drought tolerant. It's very Florida focused, and right now we're in a drought, and there's a lot of discussion about water, so we're very cognizant of that. The rest of the area is going to have what we call whitewash shell, and that actually adds a great base. It's stable, so visitors can actually walk through this garden and they can look at the plants. It also provides what I call some indirect light back to the doorway area of the facility, and you'll see it if you visit the site. So we also like to think about education when we do something like this. It's not just about plants in the ground. And what we've done is we're trying to create some interactive learning with some of the plants, and we're going to use QR codes on signs to allow folks that come by and visit, or students or staff, to scan those codes and learn more about what's actually there, why it's there, and how it integrates with our environment today. Of course, we always talk about low cost, high impact, sustainability, and maintenance. All the plants that I've referenced are basically water conservers, which means they're also almost maintenance free. They have a reduction in labor to keep this area up. They're long-term, they're very hardy. And with all that said, we think that when visitors, staff, and others come to the campus, it'll be inviting. It's aesthetically pleasing. So our signage, and this is an example of what we might have out front for visitors and staff and others. We'll call it the Florida Friendly Garden. There'll be signs strategically placed around the bed areas. They can scan those codes. They can learn about the plants that are listed there. We call it Meet Your Neighbors. It's kind of geared more towards an elementary theme, so you can kind of see how we're trying to drive that. So if the kids, that they can take out their smartphone, it seems like everyone has one today, they can scan
I
those.
see that this is not active yet.
It is, actually. Today, you can drive by. The sign's not there, no, sir.
But the QR code?
No codes or signs are there yet. We just got the.
So I didn't know. I was like, maybe,
Yeah,
not,
it's
maybe
not
I'm
working.
not functioning. I was trying to see it.
Not you, Mr. Choate.
Not yet.
Good.
But we do encourage everyone to drive by, and it's easy to see. And when we get those signs up, we'll certainly let everyone know. And I think it would be a great opportunity for people. And the reason why we've done this is twofold. It's not just for the students and staff at the school, but a lot of visitors, a lot of people are from outside the area, outside of Florida and other parts of the country, and they really don't know much about our environment here. And so these are links to master gardeners, say, over at the extension office, Florida Friendly Plants, that you can go online and possibly they may want to enlist some of those services and those resources and maybe use those at their home, you know. And then we have a cost associated with this. The plants and installation ran just a little bit under $4,000 for what we did at Pshaw. This will vary depending on the site, and we've had some other suggested sites that are listed here. Certainly those can be added to or changed, but we picked those because they give us some opportunities to maybe enhance those entrance areas, and maybe create something a little more aesthetically pleasing as folks go to visit the campus or come onto the campus for various reasons.
Okay, I have a question real quick.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I don't see Palmetto L on here. And the last time I visited that site, there's a lot of irrigation hoses exposed in the front. I think that, first of all, is a trip hazard, so I would defer to ask risk management about that. To me, it's a trip
Okay.
hazard. But when you go into their internal, the steps that go up, there's weeds and everything else growing there. One, that's another risk thing. What about allergies to any students that's going up those stairs? They had a sunflower the students planted. They were hoping it lasted through spring break. I haven't been back to see if it did. But I've talked to the superintendent about maybe Palmetto High Ag can partner with Palmetto L and be able to do some weed prevention and planting sustainable plants in that area. I don't know if that's an option. I mean, to me, 4,000 to 6,000 per site, that's not a whole lot of money for what I'm thinking. But is this coming from operations or capital? Coming from operating funds? Okay. But I think partnering with our ag department from high school to elementary would be essential to little things like that. So I don't know how you guys can work that out, but I'm certainly advocating for that, and especially the front where the irrigation hoses are exposed.
Yes, ma'am. The superintendent had mentioned that to us, so we're aware. This is just the start of it. I mean, we look to roll this out to all of our schools in need at some point, but we wanted to get it in front of you as quickly as we could, make sure you were okay with it, and then we're going to proceed. So that is part of the plan, and most definitely, like you said, the education piece, does involve high school, possibly even the middle school students getting involved, so we're looking towards that.
I like that because this brings me back to the Coach Shannon Park now up in Palmetto, where they have the storybook trail, so we could have the same concept for these plants. Is that basically where we're going with that? I think it's a great idea, by the way, because I still don't know all of the native plants, but a lot of them in my backyard are dead because I've not maintained the ones that I thought would live. But I think this is a great start. Are you contemplating this beginning over the summer break?
We're actually just waiting for direction from the board
Okay.
and other superintendent as to how to proceed.
Oh, okay, all right, so,
If it's something that we want to pursue, or if you're
Yes,
maybe
Madam
have
Chair.
other ideas.
So in hearing from all of you, once everyone has a chance to speak, knowing the cost per site, we'll hear if you all verbally want us to give the go-ahead, and then they'll be able to develop their final school list and get started with a timeline on what they're able to complete.
okay.
What may be for the future is there may be different plants that are selected based on, it's going to be almost like a custom type for each site, because as y'all know, each entranceway is just a little bit different. Not all schools are the same. But this Bashaw site was a great blank canvas for us. It was very easy to do, and you don't even have to get out of your vehicle. If you can just drive by,
Drive by it.
and you can see
And
it.
and I have. I
Yes,
have. You're right, because there's some sites that are full sun and some sites that are shade. So you gotta
Yes.
kind of, yeah, that's my little bit of green thumb. Mr. Kennedy?
Yeah, I have, Mr. Henson, as long as you're here, I have a kind of personal issue regarding landscaping, and it's fire ants.
Oh, gosh.
As a former, brief but former PE teacher, I got bitten by fire ants in those 2 years, probably about 25 times. So, and it's Florida, it's a thing, I know. But I just wanted to kind of bring it up and kind of lean on your expertise a little bit. Because I was kind when I was at Daughtry, our custodian was she always had the stuff you shake on the ground that gets them. And
Our product's extinguished we use today. That's the granular product
Exactly, the
that's applied
yellow one,
around
yeah.
the mound.
Yeah.
And you bring up a really good point, Mr. Kennedy. So I talked with staff recently, and it always comes on the heels of rain. So when we have rain, the ants move, and they move not only on the grounds, but they move into our buildings too. We use a product called Top Choice that's it's a granular that's broadcast out and has a lot of residual to it. It's safe to use on park and play fields, things like that. It's labeled for that. We've started to introduce that back to the play areas again, as well as encouraging custodial staff to address the mounds as they materialize.
Right.
We also are dealing with ants inside the buildings too, and certainly encouraging staff to, put those food item things in containers and things like that. But it's a good point. And we had some bites last week after the rain, which prompted some things to happen.
Yeah, yeah, and really for certain kids, they might be allergic, not even know it. Things
Very
like that.
true.
So it could potentially be a safety issue, but I appreciate that.
We understand that.
I'm glad you guys are already on top.
Yes,
of it.
sir.
Thank you.
Mr. Joe?
So I love the idea of beautification of our schools, because I do believe that we are in today's environment, right? We are in a friendly competition, right? And so when you drive by a school and it doesn't look great, why would you want to send your kid there when I can choose to go somewhere else or get a voucher and go somewhere else, right? So I love that we're doing this across, and I love we're also educating at the same time, right? Incorporating education. Just a couple things to think about, and I know this brings up potentially more like admin work for not only for your staff, but also potentially the schools that you're going to. But I do believe, and I don't think 4,000 to 6,000 per site is like not going to break the bank to what we're going to get out of it. But I do believe that especially in some of the larger, if you wanted to do, high schools typically are larger scale, right? I do believe that we could potentially get with each school to say, who do you have as a business owner of landscaping, et cetera, right? And I think we could incorporate those businesses, and some would probably donate.
Yep.
I would say as much as we possibly can, our plants, et cetera, using Orbans and using bubble, to potentially get donations, right? I mean, we don't want to get everything for free, but also to support local. And so I would encourage that. And the second thing I do have, and Mr. Goff, you'll remember, I think we gave, and everybody may remember actually, last year or the year before, Conley Buick GMC gave us like 100 trees. So they would like to continue to do that. And I saw Alan a couple weeks ago. This reminds me, I didn't mention anything since, I forgot about it. But so this reminds me seeing plants. So that is something they do want to continue to do every year, is give 50 to 100. So I'll make sure you guys get that connection again. But that'll be great to put in here as that. But no, I love it. I love that we're doing this. I think we need to, and I do believe that every school needs it and will benefit. Of obviously we got to take our time to get to all of them. It's not that easy. But I appreciate you guys doing this, and I'm all for it. Yeah.
Thank you.
Ms. Belton.
I love this so much. I'm very into my plants at home, so
Okay.
I'm like, ooh, gardening. But I do. I love this so much, and while I don't also feel like the cost is not big at all. But particularly when you look at the benefit later, we're going to need less water, less maintenance. It pays it for itself. To Mr. Choate's point, getting sponsorships of, on your sign, such and such paid for by such and such company, and they get a little plug in there as well. And the trees thing, some of our new construction could probably use some trees out front. So to take it back to the construction presentation, that might be a nice way to incorporate that as well, to help reduce some of those costs with the new construction. So
I think some of the new trees went to Lake Manatee Middle,
Mhm.
if
Yeah.
I remember correctly, when they donated
When
them
they
last
donated
year, 2 years ago.
yeah,
whatever.
so that's really awesome. I really like that as well. Having been to some of our campuses before they were redone, whether reconstructed or re-landscaped, that we are in a bit of a competition, and you do want the schools to be inviting and for families to go, ooh, look how pretty this is, and ooh, look at this, and you're learning something before you even get in the door, and that just really appeals to me, and I really appreciate the work you put into this.
You're welcome.
Anybody else? Mr. Tatum?
I'm glad we're moving forward on this. I know I've had conversations, with Mr. Clark and you, sir, and Dr. Breslin, and I'm hopeful that in the future we can stay up with our maintenance, because right now what's happening, I don't think really any of us here necessarily have been in the seat long enough, so to speak, but the point is we're responsible for it now, and we've just gotten way behind. I remember one elementary school where it's actually Palmetto, this way where you went, and I asked and you're right, I actually thought those things sitting on the ground were like branches from trees or something that had fallen down, and I because they're brown, and I went over and looked at them, and they're actually irrigation tubes, right? So I asked the principal, I said, how long have you been the principal at this school? And she said, 6 years, and I said, how long has the irrigation system not worked? And she said, ever since I've been here. And as I drive around our schools, it is one of those areas where I think we could move from good to great, And I'll give some examples just so while we're talking about it. If you go over to Braden River High School and you look in the parking lots there, there's the little islands, and they're all just, there was grass there at one time, but now it's mostly dirt. But then so I thought, well, it's hard to keep this up. It's a little island. Then I was over at SCF the other day for something at the Performing Arts Center there. They have nice grass in their islands. And well, why can't we do this, or we just put shells in there, xeriscaping and stuff like that. The second thing that I wanted to bring up while we're talking about this is just a lot of fences that my understanding is that our landscaping company is called janitors. Is that correct? I say that facetiously to some degree, but that is generally our land. The janitors do the landscaping.
Essentially, your custodial staff at the schools,
right? And I just don't see how. Now, I was at Lakewood Ranch the other day, running around the track, and I did see some mowers there doing something. But if you look at all of our campuses, I just don't know how it is we can expect our custodial staff to keep up with the landscaping and trimming services. And I go to a lot of schools because I do these feeding empty little tummies deliveries along with visiting in them. There are weeds growing in places that have been there for months, and I'll go for 3 months and the weeds just get taller and taller and taller and taller. And my first thought is, why isn't somebody taking care of this? And my next thought is, well, because the janitors have other things to do. So I would be in favor of spending a little more money to hire landscaping companies to go around and fix these things. other things that I'll bring up with my little speech that I'm giving right now, but since we're talking about it, is
That's why we're doing this,
that's
Mr.
why
Tatum.
okay. Is for instance, I pulled out of Braden Rover Elementary the other day, and at the I got to keep them at the exit. As you go onto the road in front of Braden Rover Elementary, there are 3 big potholes. Boom, 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 and I just think, like, I guess we're in the mission of educating students. That's our primary mission. And if I were a principal, I guess my idea would not be necessary. The primary thing in my mind would not be potholes in the parking lot, but somebody at the school needs to be thinking about potholes in the park. And they're big enough where it could damage your car if you hit it fast enough. And about 1.5 years or 2 years ago at McNeil, it was so bad that I don't know if you were in the seat at the time, Mr. Clark, but we had the whole thing repaved over there. And just so that what I'm getting to is there needs to be some process where there's somebody at each school, whether it's the duty of an assistant principal or the head janitor, that is looking at that kind of stuff and is saying, this is what's not acceptable at my school, these weeds that haven't been cut for 3 or 4 months. There were weeds at Lakewood Ranch High School that literally were 5 feet high at one point. But again, that campus is so huge, how are we going to get janitors to go out there and do that? On the south end of the stadium, there's a big hedgerow, and behind that hedgerow, if you're driving into Lakewood Ranch High School or you're walking down the sidewalk there's just trash that's been there for months. There are lacrosse balls. They get, the kids. I was there yesterday running around the track, and they go back behind there and they can't find them. My point is, there needs to be a whole process where there's somebody at the school who is responsible for keeping an eye on the infrastructure and the landscaping, reporting that, I don't know, to the principal, or that person has a direct line to somebody in your all's office, and there's a workflow, and this stuff is getting done, and we're assigning people to it. Or if it gets out of hand and we don't have enough resources, then you need to come to us and say, we need to allocate more resources to this. We need to hire a landscaping company who just goes around it once a month to every school. I don't know what it is. I just know that it could be better, and it needs to be better. And this is a good start, but it's everything. It's not just what you've shown us, which is very nice so far, but it is the weeds and fences that are breaking down and are rusted and are tilted and leaning sideways, and trash that doesn't get picked up for sometimes weeks or months at a time, and weeds that grow to 4 or 5 feet tall. Although I will compliment everybody on the work that was done at Lakewood Ranch High School to stop the erosion coming onto the track and things like that. So I'm glad we're working in this direction, but this is something we need to do that will move us from good to great, and it needs to go beyond what you're talking about, enhancing the aesthetic value or the aesthetic presence of the schools, and just looking at the whole infrastructure and how do we maintain it so that we don't get irrigation systems that don't work for 6 years. Another example, and I bring up these, but they're anecdotal, but they are symptomatic. Also, when I was at Palmetto, there's an outdoor play area there, gym area, and so it has these big steel girders, and you go over there, and they're rusting away at the bottom, and it doesn't look nice. I don't know if there's a structural problem there, but has anybody looked at this lately? No, okay. And then there are some lights inside there. I'm not sure why they need lights, because I don't think we have school at night, but maybe they have activity. Anyway, so the gym teacher is standing there, and we were talking about the structure, and he goes, well, the lights don't work. And I was like, oh, really? He goes, yeah, let me show you. So there's a short in there. So what he does is he goes back in the back and he flips on the light switch, and the lights come on and flicker, and then boom, they go automatically. So there's a short in there somewhere, and I think, well, this is a fire hazard. And how long has it been like this? He's like, I don't know, months. He can't even remember since the work order has been put in. So all this is getting to this idea that there needs to be a better infrastructure maintenance system in place, so that someone at each school is responsible, someone within the bureaucracy has a workflow that it's getting done, and if we need more resources, then you come to us, and we hopefully can allocate more resources so that we can get our schools up to what we would consider to be very, very good maintenance and very good landscaping and looking good for our community. And that's the end of my speech.
And I think what he's basically saying is we have to look at each campus holistically, just not the front door. And I've been to campuses, and when you get inside, that's where you see a lot of the problems. It's almost like if you don't see them, you don't need to fix them. But we see them. Students see them. Anybody that visits our school sees them. A good example for me is Johnson, back by the tennis courts. There's been weeds growing along the court for months. And I'm like, okay, I wonder who does that. And myself, I'm like, I'm tempted to just go do that, but I can't. So that's the kind of things that we see on a daily basis. There are some schools that needs a little facelift. I would say that Rogers needs a good fresh paint. But there's a whole lot of things out there that's been, I don't know if there's a way to do capital maintenance. Is there any way we can do capital maintenance?
So to address a couple of the concerns, one, I'll work with Rachel Sellers on potential funding sources.
Right.
I think the team has presented a great start in a problem that was brought up about some landscaping and dead grass and things of that nature, and it's a really good start. I will say the team takes great pride in making sure all our facilities look good, and in traveling around the state, our facilities look pretty darn good. But I will say there's always room for improvement. But part of it is making sure we have the eyes and the ears on the ground so that the team knows the problems. Because sometimes they don't even have the opportunity to see the things
Right.
that you all are able to see because they're not going around and visiting each school. And so that starts with making sure our system for reporting is sound and who is responsible for that. And so we've been working with our EDs as well to talk about how can we better take care of our facilities from a leadership perspective. Because yes, absolutely, our focus is on student needs, academics, taking care of our staff, but facilities is also of huge importance. And so we've already talked about restructuring some AP meetings next year where we have a facilities focus and we go in things that they should be checking for and reporting back on, and then making sure the work order system is reviewed, that they're putting in the work orders so we know what the problems are. And then each month when the APs come back, we take a look at that progress to make sure that they are being corrected. And then that gives us the data, and then I could say, board, here's what we're seeing. I have really a good collection of the work orders and then the funding that needs to be attached to each of it. So I think it brings up, as Mr. Tatum said, a systematic, like these are signs that we need to be working stronger as a system, as a unit, because they can only do what they report, what we report in running facilities. And we've got to get better at the reporting, better at the following up, better at then using the data to determine the funding that needs to be in place to make sure it doesn't happen. So we have a plan next year to work and divide our AP meetings in a better spot. Principals absolutely are in charge of their facilities, but they need help in doing that. They're already working at the top level that they can possibly put in, day out. So we're going to improve that, and I think you'll see those noticeable changes.
And Southeast comes to mind. I've been there for tennis, baseball, football, and you see that area that needs some attention. And this isn't a meeting or a topic to beat up the maintenance department, because I've been so involved in every aspect of maintenance, I understand. And to your point, Superintendent, I don't know what the turnaround rate is for, we reported this, it's not been fixed yet, with Mr. Tatum saying, oh, it's been that way for 6 years. Did somebody put a work order in on that? Did it get lost? I don't know. But I think improving that system, and I know I was at a school and I saw a piece of metal flopping, and it was one of the dance rooms, and I called the superintendent at that time and said, hey, I sent a picture. This needs fixed before the tennis match. And it was fixed right away. So it might be that it just needs reported. We don't know. But I think we're going to move in a positive direction on it. and I'm excited about these little things, but we have to look at it holistically, just not the front door. That's just like fixing the front of your house, but leaving the backyard looking like a mess. That's kind of my simple analogy of that, so.
Can I make one more comment, please?
Sure.
The other thing that maybe we could look at is when we're doing renovations, what can we do to make all this stuff easier to take care of? For instance, and I brought this up to Mr. Clark, I think, is you go over to Onico, we did what, a $30 million renovation there, right? And then so as you drive into the school there, so as you're driving around to the front, there's a little area, maybe 50 feet, like 50, it's like a circle of 50 feet. It's actually not a circle, but anyway, 50 feet by 40 feet, where kids go out and play, and it's grass. And it's now a little bit greener, and that spring has come, but in the winter there, when I was doing my felt deliveries, it's just dirt. And so now, these kids go out there and play. If it's a little wet, they're gonna drag mud back into the school. If it's a lot wet, it's just, you know, and I thought, why didn't we just turf this? You know, we could make it so much easier to make the so then I went back into the school, and sure enough, when you go up the steps that are right from that entrance, there's dirt and sand and stuff. And so looking at that kind of stuff, if we're going to spend $30 million to do a renovation, what could we do on a campus to make it easier so that the janitors do have a little more time to go out and pull the weeds instead of every time the kids go out and play, they got to sweep or some mop because we didn't put a little turf in. I understand we can't turf every bit of every campus, but things like that. And as we're building these new schools too, you know, not doing that, not putting grass where there could be turf, or not putting plants that need irrigation and xeriscaping. I know when you, Mr. Clark, you were the principal at Palmetto for a little while, were you not? And you told me the story of how you had this, when the school was built, this nice, beautiful landscaping out in front of the school, and it looked great for about 3 months, and then you realize, oh my gosh, this is going to take a lot of water and a lot of time trimming and clipping and doing all that type of stuff. So we're going to spend $30 million on a renovation, or $80 million to build a new school. Let's really think about how to minimize the ongoing maintenance and landscaping that we're going to do. And that example at Onico is just an example of what could have been done and what we might think about doing as we renovate these other schools. So thank you for letting me make that comment.
I appreciate that, because I know exactly the area you're talking about.
Right.
So,
I mean, at the end of the day, I'll just jump in real quick.
Go ahead.
I agree with everything we're saying, but it all comes down to money. Like money cures all this, right? If we want to dump all of our money in not buying new people, but getting more people, increasing salaries, doing all that, then absolutely we can, and we just got to make that a priority. And that's just, but it comes back to us five right here and superintendent saying this is what we want to do. But you know, again, that's something we have to weigh pros and cons if we're going to add money to this and that, and obviously we don't have enough for everything. So, but I agree, it needs to be. We can absolutely fix it. Just we got to be able to decide what we want to fix.
and I think again, it's individuals taking the time to submit the work order. That takes time, you know, describing this, describing that. So I think we got a good plan going forward, and I hope whoever's watching the workshop and our staff that they do take the time, because they're there, you know, how much of their life, you know, so take pride in where you're at. Right? Mr. And you have anything else?
No, ma'am.
Mr. Clark?
No, just as the superintendent said, communication is the key. So us working with those school teams, right? Our team sitting down with them regularly to talk about what the concerns and issues are and devising a plan. So that's something that we plan on doing, will be doing. We heard all the comments from the board. We'll most definitely take those under consideration and bring something back forward to you so you can see. So we're looking forward to the opportunity.
Okay, and Ms. Sellers is gonna look and see what we can do capital-wise. Capital maintenance is that's what we used to call it, capital maintenance. And we were able to do that, but this is government funds, so it's a little different. Mr. Tatum?
Just wanted to end by saying that things have gotten better, I'd say, over the last year. But I think we're moving from a whack-a-mole situation, which is good, and we're fixing things to a more systemic change, as you talked about, Dr. Bresman, where there are less moles to whack. That's kind of a
We're
cool
making
analogy.
progress.
Yeah, so instead of playing whack-a-mole, we just get to a point where there are less moles to whack. I just came up with that. That's kind of cute, isn't it?
Kind of cute.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the point is to making systemic changes so that we're more being proactive and reactive is probably better words than whack-a-mole, but
Yeah,
I
I
have this
think
image
that's a
of
good
whack-a-mole in
analogy.
my head. Okay, that's all I got. Thanks.
Okay. Anybody else? Y'all good?
Just under construction, you know, we got a few things coming up, right? So you got Lakewood Ranch High School, we're talking about renovation for that
Yeah.
in the next year. Bayshore High School, we're in the talks with that. Met with the school team yesterday, so that's moving along. And then Manatee High School's gym, so that'll be coming forward. We got a lot of work we got to do with that.
Oh, yeah.
That storm damage, so that'll be coming before you here the next couple months.
Yeah, there's a lot to be doing. Well, yeah, you got a lot to do.
Yes.
Okay, thank you so
you.
much for coming.
Thanks, y'all.
We appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr.
I'm gonna
Goff.
drive by. You said Bashall's done right now. We can go.
Yes,
back.
sir.
Cool.
If you just drive by, it may be better when the cars aren't all in there. I
Yeah,
drove
yeah.
by yesterday at midday just to check on things, and I saw a parent get out and walk by it, look
Awesome.
over. Of course, we don't have the signs up, and she was on a mission. You know, if you're at like 1 o'clock, you're going into a school for
Yeah.
a reason. But yes, just drive by, and you'll see it right there. We also did a little enhancement around the flagpole too,
Cool.
which is just north of the area I talked about.
Great. Thanks, y'all.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Wow.
And Mr. Goff, I just have a little note for you real quick.
Okay.
Just a reminder he's going to be here during the invocation on the 20th, so I just want to make sure he remembers.
Wonderful.
Yeah, he's my invoker.
Thank you, Mr.
And
Goff.
that's just my little reminder note. You know, I have it down for the invoker. Yeah, okay.
Sure. Good to see you.
I think we could probably just blow through the next topic too, if you want to go.
Yeah, I think so.
All right. All right. I don't want a bunch of hungry kids up here. All right. So the next item on our agenda is the naming of AAA and the process that went through. I think that is your name tag
That
there,
is your
Mr.
name tag.
Chapman.
Oh, it is? Oh.
I believe so.
There he is.
Yeah, you are. Okay. So Mr. Chapman is going to take the wheel now and drive us through that process.
Yeah, thank you, Board Chair and Board, Dr. Breslin. So this is exciting. Maybe not as exciting this weekend and at the Masters or the Oscars, but for Manatee County, this is a big deal to name our 8th high school. To have that opportunity, I think, is really exciting. So to run you through a couple of slides here, we had a great response from the community and from our staff and from our parents about what the name of the 8th high school should be. As you can see, we had over 1,100 responses. You can see that almost half, a little less than half, actually came from students and families who will actually be at the school. And then you can see those other data points there. In total, over 1,600 names suggested, but 700 actually unique names because we had obviously many duplicates. Thanks to Evan McCarthy and his team who ran all this data and did a great job and kind of sorting it out. You can kind of see there in this slide, just with the different names and how they were named after potential historical figures, local leaders, locations, agriculture, the wildlife. And you can kind of see that in the names. This slide gives you the top 5 suggested names. At the end of the day, you 5 board members are the ones who will actually name the school. But here is where kind of the data ended up. And those 5 are the top school name suggestions. And then here is a kind of a rundown of the top 10 name or person schools, as you all have decided that you would rather not name a school after a person. And so here are the top 10. You can see there. This is a little different way of putting it, but most frequently used words and phrases in those suggestions. And then here's a little timeline we've been working off of, so you can see where we are now on April 14th. And again, it's up to you all. You could, somewhat pick a name right now if you so choose, or I guess really the superintendent and the team's recommendations maybe take the top 3, top 5, and put it out in an optional survey with a window from now, essentially tomorrow, could be today, tomorrow, we send it out, and we run it to May 1st. And then see how that comes back, and then present it to you at the May 12th board meeting, probably board briefings before that, but and maybe have a decision there on May 12th. So that's a suggested timeline there to get us to the end, and I'll probably stop there and let you all discuss what you'd like to do. But this is, again, very exciting, and you don't really get to, Dr. Breslin's probably on 20-plus years in education, and, have you ever got to name help be in a process of naming a school? It probably happens maybe once in a career, so it's pretty exciting to be involved in this. So,
High school.
yeah.
Right, right. Okay. I will go with Mr. Choate
You can
first.
start. Oh,
Go ahead.
just going?
Yeah, I want to hear your opinions.
I like, obviously, we great data. Thank you, obviously, Evan, putting everything together and all that. Thank for everybody who submitted and did all that. We've obviously got numbers pretty selectively. You've got Rangeland at 153, Lake Manatee at 102. I'm okay with putting out there a survey to see top two, I mean, I don't know about five. I mean, I don't think five is necessarily needed. Me personally, we've got a Lakewood Ranch High School, so Lakewood Ranch East to me is I don't think should be used. We have a Manatee High School, so using Lake Manatee, East Manatee. I know we've had some talk about Lake Manatee and having the K-8. I've been told from feedback in my community of people that using Manatee would not be something they would want. Just like if we called it Lake Parish Community, we wouldn't want that, or Lake Palmetto. But I'm okay with doing the top two or whatever, send out the community to see what they want. Because obviously we got a pretty good response here. Rangeland, I did, as I saw this presentation, I did some quick Googling just to kind of see, like, why was Rangeland Parkway named Rangeland Parkway? I can't find anything. I don't know if anybody else.
I looked.
So I did ask one of the commissioners, like, hey, could you go look into that with the county? Like, why was Rangeland named Rangeland? Or was it Rex Jensen doing his thing in Lakewood Ranch? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if there was an actual name to it. I do look at some of the names. I do think like Schroeder Ranch would have been cool because that's obviously what it was, that land. But we don't really like doing names, so I'm okay with that. I'm okay with doing the top two, seeing what everybody thinks. But my pick is Rangeland. That's all I got.
Who wants to go next? Put your hand up.
I'll go.
Ms.
I'll go.
Felton.
Okay, so first, Mr. McCarthy, I would like to say that I very much appreciate your suggested name themes, because when you got down to the humor, satire, pop culture, and other, I had lots of giggles when I hit those suggestions, some of which are not appropriate for television, so I'm not going to name them. But I really appreciated that's on you. But I really appreciated that, and that's a silly segue into I appreciate all the hard work you put into doing this, and I am so thankful for the public for so many recommendations. I mean, our community turned out, and I was also really excited to see the numbers of students and students who will attend the school and the parents who weighed in, because that really helped me as well looking at this. And most of the public really did take our suggestion to heart of that we really don't want to name it after a human, because none of our high schools are named after a human. I know there are a lot of people who wanted to name it after Carol Feltz, but she does have a preserve being named after her in Mayaca, where she lived. And that this high school wouldn't even be in her district. So I really like that's what she's got. So she is being commemorated in the community. So I just want to assure people that is happening. So yeah. But I I like Rangeland, I think the best. I am with Mr. Choate on, we have a Lakewood Ranch, we have a Manatee, and I am hesitant to name anything east because we had Southeast, which is no longer the most southern nor the most eastern school in the district.
Right.
So, so I, putting directionals on there, I'm opposed to, but I like Rangeland because it was, cattle ranges out there, and I think that's really appropriate for the area, because it was a ranch. So that's the one I would go to. With Lake Manatee, I understand the Manatee high school community, and they're very particular, and they want to keep Manatee out. So I mean, I can completely understand that. You do want your school to be unique in its name and in recognition. So I'm all for Rangeland.
Mr. Kennedy,
Okay.
should I save you for last?
No,
Okay.
I'll be quick. I'll be quick. I do also, I kind of came into this with Lake Manatee as my first choice, and as I was reading through the information when we received it, the kind of the raw data on the
Right.
responses, that kind of same thought occurred to me that Chad has already brought up. Like, we've already got a Manatee, and I could just see confusion with a team arriving from another county, and the bus driver thinks they're going to Lake Manatee High School, and they arrive at Manatee High School, or vice versa, or something like that. I also did look up, I really like Rangeland too, and I did look this up, and according to Claude AI, there is no other Rangeland High School in the United States, so it's a unique name as well. So I do, that Rangeland kind of becomes my first preference. I would like us to maybe put out 3 or 4 finalists for a second round of input. I mean, ultimately it's up to us. So if we've got 2 votes who are already like, I want Rangeland, I really like Rangeland too. So maybe we don't need to put out 3 or 4 finalists, and we're ready to move. But I do want to thank everybody who submitted a lot of really interesting, funny, as a guy who's getting older, some names I don't understand, but what I did is I took the spreadsheet and I sorted it by just by name, not by category, but just by name. So I've got to give this one a shout out because I have no idea what it means.
Oh, good.
So
Could be good.
well, I sort of know what part of it means. 6-7 Diddy blood. So to whatever student, it says it was
6-7 would be
a
phenomenal.
community member submitted that one. So thank you, student or community member, for your. And then right after it, 667 Mangoes High School. So there is just, I mean, I love when these opportunities for public input because it just, the internet always wins. So we have another win here. But Madam Chair, I'm a proponent of Rangeland High School.
Okay. Mr. Tatum.
Rangeland. It's fine.
Okay. I pulled up the Google map because I want to see where does Rangeland start and where does it stop. Rangeland starts at Manatee Technical East, which is on the Lakewood Ranch Boulevard. That's where it starts, according to Google Map. And it goes through the county by Lakewood Ranch Prep, across Lorraine Road, Crestwind, Lakewood Ranch Community, I guess, Lakewood National Golf Club, and then all the way out what looks to be the county line. I don't know. Bourneside Boulevard, it crosses that. I'm just looking at the major roads that go through. And then there's a little community with a lot of little, looks like retention ponds to me.
That's the golf course. That's
Is that the golf course? Okay.
Tuscaloosa.
Okay. And then it ends at that golf course, Deer Pass Lodge. I don't even know where that's at. This is farther out than I typically go. Way out there. So rangeland for me is a broad spectrum of where that school really is. However, the community kind of likes that. And I've gotten feedback about the Lake Manatee High, and it's not been good, but I also like it. But with the community, almost, it's almost overwhelmingly likes rangeland. I'm good with rangeland. I really don't. I mean, the board can chime in. I don't think we need to go out to the community anymore if we're all in consensus of this.
I don't think
I just think it would be.
Yeah, we did.
I think we did, and I think we got a lot. I mean, I think the 1,180 some unique responses is how you worded that. I think that's kind of cool. Kind of leads us to that. And, even Manatee was mentioned 195 times, but East Manatee only got 42. Lake Manatee got 102. Those two are the top two with rangeland and Lake Manatee. But I don't want to infringe on having too many names with Manatee in it as well. So I'm good with rangeland. I would say put it on the agenda to name it rangeland.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
Rangeland High School?
Rangeland High, right. RHS.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Simple enough.
We have our marching orders.
And I just want to say, FYI, just like the rest, I know because people put like mascots and things like that.
Oh, I did. I put
That is
mascot.
that is more, and Superintendent, you can say how that's going to go. That's more when the community is built and made and principals there, etc.
Correct.
Did they
So
help with that? Yeah.
we will name a principal as we've shared prior to the start of this school year, and then they will work with the leadership team and students and work on the mascot and the logo and all of those things to finalize what the school will be about.
They're just
Rangeland
not-
High School.
They're not going to automatically be the ranch hands?
Oh, my gosh.
Well, Mr. Kennedy, we don't know where it will go, but
I still,
That's another round of public
but,
feedback.
right.
I'll tell you what, Megan.
Yeah, I still lean toward the
they'll
Cougars
arrive in
no
the
matter
right-
what.
in the right place. I just have to get used to calling it Rangeland High School after the board approves it instead of
AAA.
High School.
AAA.
I've been calling it that for so long now.
It's finally going to have a name.
It's finally going to have a name.
So I'm good with that. Good enough? Okay.
Good to go.
Mr. Chapman, you win for the fastest presentation.
That's good.
Yeah, that's good.
Golf clap?
Yep. All right. That being the last item on our agenda, and I'm glad we got through that. It's after 1. It took a little longer than I thought for no lunch break, but I saw everybody snacking on things, so it was all good. So at this point, I will call the meeting adjourned at 1:23. Thank you.
Thank you.